January 14th, 2026 Planning Board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Mr. Chair, we got
Yes, sir.
eight voting members tonight, so everyone is here. No appointments are needed for our alternates.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Rugg. We will get right into it. Administrative board work. I don't believe, do we have some minutes tonight? I don't think we do.
No,
You had to sign a few, correct?
I signed them.
Okay. Perfect. Regional impact determinations
None this evening, Mr. Chair.
and discussions with town staff.
We have a few items for you. First is an extension request for the 5 Ricker Ave site plan. They're requesting an extension to April 29th of 2026.
All right. I am looking for a motion to grant an extension request for the 5 Ricker Ave site plan to April 9th, 2026.
So moved. Okay.
I have a motion from Jeff. I have a second from
Second.
Mr. Rugg. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champa, aye.
Tony D, aye. John Farrell, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. The extension request has been granted. All right. Anything else?
Oh, sorry.
You're all good.
Hi, guys.
So we have,
Yeah, out this door.
I'll get a second. We received
Let 'em
a
come
minor
through.
site plan application for the property at 12 Innovation Way. This process is outlined in our site plan regulations, but we have a practice here of bringing it to the board for your awareness. So essentially, the property owner is looking to make some adjustments to the parking areas, some of the entranceways, deal with some ADA accessibility, and the new impervious area is staying within the confines of the minor site plan criteria. So I'm happy to walk through this in more detail, but like I say, this is handled at the staff level. There is public noticing that goes along with this as well, but just wanted to make the board.
You don't need a motion for it, correct?
I do not.
Anybody have any questions on the site plan? All right, you're all set.
Okay. Last item is an item that staff believes we can handle administratively. It's related to the Village on Technology Hill childcare site plan that's already received an approval from this board. They are, they've recently engaged a new tenant for that childcare facility. And that tenant is requiring some more space, some more spatial needs, which is a good thing for the childcare facility, but it requires some expansion, minor expansion of the building and parking area. You want to add some things?
There's no changes to the unloading area. If you recall, there was some concern about the circulation in front of the building. So if you look at the green there, there's nothing changing in terms of the green in front of the building. The yellow represents the addition to the building itself. It's about a 6,000 square foot addition. And then the yellow to the east of the building, or to the north of the building, that represents an increase to the parking area of about 7,000 square feet. So again, there's no changes. It does reduce the size of the playground area, but it is what it is. Staff feels that we can handle this administratively, and we just, want concurrence from the board that that's how we'll proceed.
Sure. Anybody have any questions?
Well, I think staff is more than capable of handling it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anything else?
I have nothing.
I'm all set.
All set. All set. Wonderful. All right, we are going to move on to old business. We have a public hearing on an application for formal review of a conditional use permit to permit multifamily use The property is located at 2 Litchfield Road, map 12, lot 68, within the AR1 zoning district, formerly zoned Commercial 3 and Historic Overlay District. CC Properties LLC is the owner and applicant. Application was filed prior to the rezoning of the property and will be reviewed under the zoning regulations in effect at time of submission. All right, let me get this opened up real quick. And Kelly, you can get started if you'd like.
Sure. So as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, this property was recently rezoned. However, at the time of application submission, the property was zoned C3 with the Historic Overlay District. So that is the regulatory criteria that we will review this under. So for the application, it is a conditional use permit. The criteria that the board should consider for this falls under section 6.2 of the zoning ordinance. And it's outlined in my memorandum to you. I think, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think there might be a presentation from the applicant whenever you're ready.
Sure. If the applicant wants to come up. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Laura Gandy. I'm an attorney with Divine Millimet. Here with me is Richard Flyer, managing member of CC Properties LLC, the owner of the property. I apologize. I'm a little confused because we did have a full presentation last time, and there was a motion that was made in the negative and not in the affirmative. And I brought that to staff's attention, and we were going to have another public hearing to address that motion. I can go through everything again. The board at that time had an issue. They denied the application. They made a motion to deny it and not approve it, so it's that when you get the double negatives going on. So the traffic was the issue, and that was criteria number F regarding access facilities adequate for the estimated traffic from the public streets and sidewalk. And again, that's not traffic, that's access facilities, and I did address that in my initial presentation, saying that the traffic issue would be addressed during the site plan, that access facilities were existing on the property. So my understanding today was I sent the board an updated traffic from 2025 for 7 Litchfield Road. So I'm just a little confused as far as how staff wants me to proceed and how the board wants me to
Kelly?
proceed.
That's entirely up to the board if you want a presentation or not. The motion that was made, I think it was in November, if I'm not mistaken, it was technically a failed motion, and
Right.
we reconvened and the board decided to proceed with another public hearing. So if you need additional information from staff or from the applicant,
Sure,
you can ask for it, or you can proceed as you see fit.
sure. Board, how do we want to work here?
I don't know why are we here then? What are we doing?
Because your prior motion in November was a failed motion, so you can
Correct.
actually take action.
What was the motion?
So there was a motion to accept, which was denied.
And then we were
You made
supposed to do a
We,
motion.
we
to
should have
deny.
had a
Do it in
motion,
the
correct.
positive.
We have to, your motion needs to be in the positive. So theoretically, we had
I thought we
only
fixed
negative
that.
motion.
No, you opted to hold another
We
hearing
said let's hold a
to
hearing.
correct it.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
then we're gonna,
So that puts us here tonight.
so then that means we're basically starting over. If we
I
had,
wouldn't,
if we had a failed motion,
yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
Good.
Yeah,
or we said no to the applicant, so you're basically starting over.
yeah, you could look at it that way.
So it's a public hearing, right?
Yeah.
So in fairness to the public who was not here in November, it may behoove the board and the public to hear the presentation again so that you can move and act on some sort of whatever action is the board decides to do.
That's fair.
That's just an option.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. Does the board have a problem with it?
Probably
Alright.
safer, I think.
So we'll have a presentation.
Okay, I was not prepared for a presentation, so I'm going to ask the board if they would incorporate the application material that I submitted at the last time. I did have a packet of information that was submitted the last time. I can go through the criteria with you as well and highlight the points, so I will be more than happy to do that, but I do not have those application materials. Those were submitted during the last public hearing. But as this board is aware, the property is 2 Litchfield Road. It's a 1.38 property that's at the corner of Litchfield Road and Mammoth Road. It is zoned C3 and the Historic Overlay District, and it also had a historic preservation easement deed. And this board is aware of the unique history of the property. Back in 2006, the town council voted to rezone the property to C3 in the HOD with the condition that a historic preservation easement deed be put on the property. That was in effect. Shortly after that was done, the property was sold to folks who were running the newspaper out of that property. In 2009, a site plan was approved by the planning board that allowed for office space that had 17 parking spaces for professional office space. That was done at that time. Since that time, there were various other commercial uses. As far as the New Hampshire Democratic Party was there was events there was fundraising there. What my client is seeking to do now is to have a conditional use permit for a multifamily use, which is allowed under this C3 zoning district with a conditional use permit. The town zoning ordinance provides for 6 criteria that this board must review in determining whether or not to grant a conditional use permit. The first criteria is granting of the application would meet some public need or convenience. As this board is aware, there is a housing shortage in the state. Everybody is looking to find more ways for housing. My client wants to put, I believe, 5 units. 6. Six units on the property, and that again would be subject to site plan review. This is just to get a conditional use permit. We would come back in front of the board for a site plan. So we feel that we're meeting the public need or convenience. The second criteria is granting of the application is in the public interest. Again, this coincides with the need for housing. There's some housing in that area already. That area actually has an array of mixed uses going up and down the 128 corridor. There is the Wagon Wheels mobile home park next to it. There's some condos going to the side, and at 7 Litchfield Road, I believe there's going to be 10 additional units. I believe it's 5 duplexes. The third criteria is the property in question is reasonably suited for the use requested. There's already a single-family home there. My client, again, would go back in front of this board for a site plan to determine what the amount of units are on the property and what can be done with the property through the site plan review. And it is reasonably suited for multifamily. Again, properties in the area do have multifamily uses. There's condos. Again, 7 Litchfield Road is going to be a set of duplexes as well. The use requested would not have a substantial adverse effect on the rights of the owners or surrounding properties. We feel that we meet that as well. This would be a residential use through multifamily. It would not adversely affect the surrounding properties. Currently, right now, the property is zoned for commercial 3. I know there was a rezoning application made by the town that is still currently under review by the town. There was a motion for reconsideration filed for that particular action that was taken by the town council. The property owners in the area, again, consist of residential uses by the way of the mobile home park that's across the street, and the surrounding properties down Litchfield Road consist of primarily residential uses. The traffic generated by the proposed use is consistent with the identified function, capacity, and level of service of transportation facilities serving the community. Again, this property has been zoned for commercial uses with the site plan allowing for 17 parking spaces. This use, we think, would have less than that. So the traffic generated by the proposed use, having multifamily, would be less than what you would have with professional office space that is currently allowed at the property. And the last one is there must be appropriate provisions for access facilities adequate for the estimated traffic from public streets and sidewalks so as to assure public safety and to avoid traffic congestion. Again, this is not meant to be a traffic analysis for this board. This is access facilities, which is the ability for people to get in and out and to cross over the roadways. The property already has a curb cut on the main highway that is available for 17 spaces for parking. So there is plenty of ability for cars to enter and exit from 2 Litchfield Road. The access facilities are adequate from the estimated traffic flow, and you did receive from me the 2025 traffic study from 2 Litchfield Road. And that traffic study, and I put in my email what the impacts were for that traffic study. This is a very substantially similar application or use as far as intensity goes, and that traffic report from September of 2025 demonstrated that there was basically an insignificant impact to the roadways, and that traffic study actually studied the same, we believe, the same traffic areas that would be studied if we had to, but again, that would be done during the site plan review. This is not a site plan. The criteria for the conditional use permit does not speak of traffic counts. It speaks of access facilities, and we believe that we have that.
Mr. Chairman, clarification question
Yes.
before you go to the planning, put to the public.
Yeah.
The staff memo says 5-unit multifamily. Is it 5 or is it 6? 6.
Yeah, I mean, they,
We may do something else.
Doesn't matter.
Not 100% sure.
so it, sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't realize he was still talking. So my understanding is that they're changing it to 6. Initially, it was 5. However, with respect to the density, overall density question, we would analyze that in the site plan review process to ensure what the maximum is that would be allowed. on the site.
Ultimately, whether
Thank
it's
you.
1 or 100, it's after this. We need to get through the CUP first.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I know.
Just wanted to make sure this is.
I'm gonna go to staff. Did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to add, we understand that there may be additional relief if we're not meeting density or setbacks. We understand this is, again, just the minute issue of conditional use permit.
Sure, thank you. I'm gonna go to staff. I'll bring it to the board, and then we'll open it up to the public.
I have nothing.
Just to note, if you are to approve this, we would condition it on the need for a full site plan application.
Thank you. All set? All right, I'll bring it to the board. Board, have anything? Ann?
You keep mentioning the 17 parking spaces. That was the town's regulation for the former owners. The former owners didn't, they had their choice. They probably wouldn't have used 17 parking spaces because it was just a family-run business. And you say you'd like, let's see now, you talked about the house across the, a development that may come in across the street from it on Stonehenge, on Litchfield Road,
Can I respond?
So, Ann,
is it-
I can clarify it. Ann, it's,
Mention that.
it's a site plan that we have previously approved.
Right,
You
But
were on the
that
board
has
at the time.
17
That's
acres.
at the old junkyard, just to
right. It has
orientate
17
yourself.
acres, though. It's
Yeah.
not 1.25 acres or 1/3 acres like this one. It's totally different as far as the size. Didn't wasn't it already changed to AR1 by the town council? Or was
Yeah, but
there
this-
some mix?
This was
This-
submitted beforehand.
Yes,
This was
is under
submitted
the-
beforehand. This is a conditional use
old-
permit.
Thank you for that, I appreciate it. Can I ask a question about the house? Is the house going to be torn down?
That's not
I
the
don't-
intent.
No,
Oops, sorry.
It's
Ann, I can appreciate the comment, but
Okay.
it's not relevant to the CUP.
Well, I was just wondering if it was going to be 7 total, if they're adding
The house
6.
can't be
I was just
saved.
wondering.
Clearly, the house can.
Anything else from the board?
Mr. Chair, so, I think this more than meets all the requirements to get what we need to do for tonight. Everything else is gonna be handled on the site plan side of it, which is gonna be extensive. This site is gonna be picked apart like a chicken in a cow yard. So there's gonna be ample time which will be at least one more public hearing, plus staff getting a hold of it as well to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. What we're here for tonight is something totally different. I do want to make sure that the applicant, actually, if I can go to Kelly first. So we're reverting back to before the town council changed the zoning, because this application was stamped with a date that happened before the town council did that, correct? So we're staying with C3 with the overlay rules,
Correct.
okay? So C3 with the overlay rules is a little bit more restrictive than what the town council did, and I want to make sure that you all understand that not only did it go back to C3, but the overlay rules are going to be enforced also when you come back with your site plan.
Yes, no, we are completely.
So you're good with that? Okay?
Yes.
And just for the general public's edification, the commercial 3 zone was put into effect by, all right, help me out, I don't think it was town councilors at the time, I think it was,
The town council put that in, I think, over the objection of the.
no, I'm talking about the C3 zone in particular in 1976 or 77 was put in.
Oh, it's part of,
I don't think it was a town council then, I think it was
Board of Select-
I think it was,
Yeah, something like
whatever
that,
they
that-
were.
that would Go to
But at any
town
rate,
meeting.
zoning would have been done at town meeting.
yeah, whatever it was, and the town voters put it in. The concept behind C3 was to be a buffer between residential and what I always called real commercial. I called it real commercial at the time because I bought the first piece of commercial 3 land and put up a commercial building, which was a buffer between real commercial and residential. And that's the whole purpose of C3. And that's why the multifamily is in here. Does anybody have any idea, or can anybody help me with how many units are in Wagon Wheels Park?
Across the street?
Across the street.
There's at least a dozen and a half.
Yeah,
So more than a dozen units?
so between 10, 15, or probably closer to 15.
34.
Thank you.
30, oh,
So according to AI,
you can't see everything that's there.
according to AI Ryan, it's, whatever.
34.
More than 2 dozen. And so this little parcel is not gonna really do much, my opinion, one person's opinion, but again, this board is gonna have another bite of the apple when it comes back for a site plan review, and we're doing something different tonight. So, thank you for entertaining me.
Anything else from the board?
I'm looking forward to the discussion about chickens.
You guys good? All right, this is a public hearing. We'll open it up to the public. If you'd like to speak on it, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Susan Flyer, 43 Adams Road. Just have 2 things to say. Number one, I want to reiterate that this zoning change was done without consulting the owners of the property. It just was sprung upon the company. Number 2 is I can't believe how much time has been wasted on this particular subject. It just seems to be, it keeps on changing and changing. You know, this is public time, it's your time, and you're wasting on something that is something, that you're wasting it on something that could be easily solved by going back to the zoning before it was changed without the opinions of the owners. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Anything else from the public? All right, Seeing none, I will come back to the board. Board, do we have anything else? All right.
pretty
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
would you like to entertain a motion?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that the planning board grant approval of a conditional use permit to permit multifamily use. The property is located at 2 Litchfield Road, map 12, lot 68, within the AR1 zoning district, formerly zoned Commercial 3 and Historic Overlay District. CC Properties LLC is the owner applicant. Application was filed prior to the rezoning of the property and will be reviewed under the zoning regulations in effect at the time of submission, with the following condition. A full site plan application is required to address engineering design, utilities, parking, access, drainage, landscaping, and other applicable details.
I have a motion from Jeff. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from John. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champon, nay.
Tony D, aye.
John Farrell, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This has been granted.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. All right, moving on. We are going to a conceptual, non-binding discussion regarding the renovation of an existing building to add a restaurant and associated parking in support of an agritourism operation at 230 Mammoth Road, map 6, lot 21, zoned AR1. MHO Acquisition LLC is the owner and applicant. Folks could come up.
Do you want this on screen or?
All right, good evening, folks. This is a conceptual discussion, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Laura Gandy. I'm an attorney with Divine Millamette and Branch in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm here representing Max Apples, and I'll have Jason introduce himself as well.
I'm Jason Mills. I'm the business advisor for Max Apples, and Kyle, the owner.
And we also have with us tonight, as part of our conceptual discussion, the Commissioner of Agriculture, Sean Jasper, who's sitting in the back. And I did send a packet, and I also have paper copies, if I could pass those up.
I'll take them. Thank you.
You have it as well, just so you know, the digital. Okay. Yeah.
God bless.
Rest exercise.
So the purpose for tonight is a conceptual discussion regarding a proposed farm-to-table restaurant at Max Apples. And I wanted to use this time basically to review with the board the agritourism statutes and some of the waivers that we are seeking as part of our site plan review, and to get a temperature of the board as far as how they feel about those particular waivers, and to go through some of the agritourism statutes. I'm not quite sure if the board's had the opportunity to have any instruction on some of these statutes and interplay with those with agritourism, and in particular, the site plan for Max Apples. So in the packet that you have in front of you, I did put the statutes in there, and I did number the pages on the bottom. That hopefully will make it easier for the board to follow along. The first statute that I have in your packet is RSA 2134A, that defines agritourism.
My bad. I'm sorry. The light was bad. I'm just trying to increase it. And obviously, that's not the switch.
There we go. Oh, there you go. Jeff, that was great.
In case anyone wants.
So the,
There's
on
one
page,
here.
I apologize for that.
oh, no worries at all. On page 1, you have RSA
There's people
2134. A for farm agriculture, and I highlighted section 5 at the bottom, and it describes and it gives the definition of agritourism, which means attracting visitors to a farm to attend events or activities that are accessory uses to primary farm operation, including but not limited to being provided a meal, making overnight stays, enjoyment of the farm environment, education, and then it goes on and describes what agritourism is. And the main point of pointing out this statute is to familiarize the board with the statute and also to point out that it does state providing a meal, and we are asking for a farm-to-table restaurant, which obviously provides meals. The second item in my packet is a letter from your zoning administrator dated August 26th, 2025. That's on pages 3, 4, and 5, and that is going to another attorney that helps out with Max Apples, and that was at the request of attorney Edward J. Ford to determine whether a farm-to-table restaurant would be classified as agritourism and therefore a permitted use based on the agritourism statute. And you can see on page 4, I highlighted your zoning administrator's determination. That determination states the proposed farm-to-table restaurant is a form of agritourism and therefore is considered a permitted agricultural use in the AR1 zoning district, subject to compliance with all applicable building, site plan, health, and safety regulations. So the town has determined that the restaurant is a form of agritourism and therefore is allowed on the site. The next statute is RSA 672:1, which gets into the planning and the zoning board's role in helping farms succeed with agritourism.
Laura, could you clarify, did you say the town has decided that it's agritourism?
Yeah, so you have a use determination letter by Nick Connor. That's
you.
just the use.
Yeah,
Who said
correct.
that the farm-to-table restaurant is a form of agritourism that is allowed. And I highlighted that on page 4.
And for the public, who's Nick?
Nick Connor is Chief Building Official and Zoning Administrator.
Thank you.
So for clarifications, he's saying it's a use in AR1, that's all he's saying?
Correct.
Okay.
See, a permitted use.
In AR1, that's all he's saying?
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to clarify. Agritourism is a permitted use in AR1. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So the next one is 672:1, and this section of the statutes now gets into the role of planning and zoning boards as it relates to agritourism and attempts to assist farmers in succeeding in their agricultural and agritourism business desires. So 672:1 is a declaration of purpose, and it says, and I highlighted 3B, there's a whole bunch of stuff there about agriculture makes vital and significant contributions to the food supply, the economy, and the environment, and the aesthetic features of the state of New Hampshire, and the tradition of using land resource for agricultural production is an essential factor in providing for the favorable quality of life in the state. And then the last sentence, and it goes on again, and it talks about agritourism and how it's undertaken by farmers to contribute to both the economic viability and long-term sustainability of the primary agricultural activities in New Hampshire. So the legislature has attempted to assist farms by allowing for agritourism as another means of keeping farms viable and sustainable. The last sentence in 3B, agricultural activities and agritourism shall, and I circled shall not be unreasonably limited by use of municipal planning and zoning powers or by the unreasonable interpretation of such powers. So again, the legislature is trying to set the tone for how they want to see agritourism be handled at the local level. Even though it's governed by the state does recognize the role of local municipalities in regulating some of those uses. And again, on 672:1, it talks about, agritourism being traditional, fundamental, And they, the state legislature does not want to see the towns unreasonably interfere with agritourism as far as farming activities. So that's 672:1. And then the next page is page 8, which is 674:32A, and it talks about presumptions. And again, we have already, this town has already made a determination that it is a permitted use, and I believe that this statute, 674:32A, was one of the statutes that was referenced by your chief building inspector, Nick Cardinal, when he was making his determination. The next page is 674:32B, and that talks about use and activities. And again, Section 2 is what's applicable to the proposed site plan that we're discussing tonight. And it's saying that municipalities may regulate site plan approval. So it's not a shall. There are some towns that allow agritourism just to happen, but the legislature is giving each municipality the opportunity with the word may. So not saying it's required, that towns may regulate it, and it gives you some other guidance. It may be regulated to prevent traffic and parking from adversely impacting adjacent properties, streets, sidewalks, or public safety. And then it goes on. So that's where it's allowing the municipalities the option, not requiring municipalities, but allowing them the option to regulate if they see fit. The next statute is 674:32C. And this is going to become important when I get into the site plan. This talks about waivers. This board is obviously used to dealing with waivers. Your regulations spell out different waiver criteria for your site plan and subdivision regulations. For agritourism and agricultural uses of land, you have a different standard that you are required to look at under 674:32C. And I highlighted that. So Roman numeral 2 talks about if you're, expanding uses or if you're doing something different, you can be required to undergo some site plan review. And then it says, and this is the key portion of it, however, that in circumstances where the literal application, and that means the regulations that are being imposed, your site plan, your subdivision, your zoning, so where that little application would effectively prohibit an agricultural use or activity allowed by this subdivision, or would otherwise be unreasonable in the context of an agricultural use or activity, in accordance with the provision of 672:1, 3B, and we already talked about that, the Board of Adjustment, Building Codes of Appeal, or other applicable land use board, which is this board, the planning board, after due notice and hearing, and this is where you get into the may and the shalls, the statute says shall grant a waiver from such requirement to the extent necessary to reasonably permit the agricultural use or activity, unless such waiver would have a demonstrated, so it has to be a demonstrated adverse effect on public health, safety, or the value of adjacent property. So this is a little bit different from what this board is used to. You now have a state statute governing how you are to view waivers for an agricultural use or activity, because agritourism is really dealt with at the state level. So that's 674:32C. And the last statute is 674:32D, that talks about agritourism permitted. And again, it's just the legislature's intent that they don't want municipalities to be prohibiting it where the primary use is for agriculture. So that's agritourism. Again, really just gives you a flavor of the state's role in regulating agritourism, which brings me to the site plan that we're here to talk about tonight. It's Max Apples. Everybody, I think, in town is familiar with Max Apples. Just a brief history that's on the front page of my packet. In 1732, John Mack came to Londonderry, New Hampshire, from Londonderry, Ireland, with his new wife, Isabella Brown. The area then known as Nutfield contained a plot of land belonging to Matthew Thornton, later to sign the Declaration of Independence. The Macks settled, grew potatoes and other crops, raised cattle, and later grew apples. Today, Max Apples, also known as Moose Hill Orchards, that name, we can talk about another day, is a farm of approximately 400 acres, 100 of which are dedicated to apples. Max Apples Pick Your Own has been twice selected as the People's Choice Award winner in the Best of New Hampshire edition of New Hampshire Magazine. Everybody's familiar with Max Apples in the Mac family. It's a staple to Londonderry. I think one of the prime things people know about Londonderry is Max Apples, and we are looking for this board to support Max as he continues with another adventure to sustain and keep his farming activities viable. So you have at page 12, you have the site plan, and that's what's up on the board, and I tried to color code that as far as it is going to relate to our waivers that we will be asking when we come in front of the board for site plan review. So you have some color coded, and I color coded it just to make it easy. I color coded the red is where the restaurant is going to go, so that's going to be approximately 4,000 square feet. That's the back portion of the building that's in existence. There's no physical expansion to the building whatsoever. There will be cosmetic changes to the building around the back, but no physical expansion to the building. So that's what's in red. You do have the green, that is the outline of the agricultural farm pond. That is my understanding, according to our folks at Max Apples. They believe that was constructed for agricultural use back in the 1950s and has been used basically to pump water out to help maintain the farming activities there. It was man-made, and it is there. And you can see where the black line is, that the farm pond is actually on another piece of property owned by Max Apples. That's 37 acres. The piece of property where the restaurant is going to go is approximately 8 acres. But you can see the pink line is the Conservation Overlay District buffer. This town does not make any exceptions for agricultural ponds. Some other communities do, saying if there's a man-made pond for the purpose of agriculture, it's not considered a wetland. The town of Londonderry does not do that. So you can see the CO2, the Conservation Overlay District buffer is in pink. There is a building encroaching in it, and part of the existing farm stand is also encroaching in it. You also see in yellow is the parking area. So you have 2 areas of parking in the front. I highlighted that is paved parking area, and the other one to the right is not paved. So that's a gravel parking area. And it's my understanding, after talking to folks at Max Apple, that some of that area that's where the unpaved was the former Mammoth Road, that the Mammoth Road used to go that way through the back of the farm. So that has been continuously used as a farm, as a road for many, many decades. So with that, we are asking for 4, potentially 5 waivers that we're just trying to get a temperature on the board. The first waiver is for the CO2 district, the Conservation Overlay District. Again, as I explained, there's a farm pond. It's a man-made pond that technically qualifies for wetlands. If you look, I did put at page 13 that there is an exemption under the Clean Water Act for the construction and maintenance of farm or stock ponds. So, and again, other communities, they make an exception. The town of Londonderry does not. We would be asking for a waiver for that type of exemption, so not to be subject to the Conservation Overlay District boundary. That would be our first waiver. Our second waiver is landscaping. We are asking for a waiver to the landscaping. It's a farm stand. We already have landscaping. We have our, trees. We have the farm stand. We are asking for a waiver for the landscaping, and I did put at page, I think it's 15, on page 15, the section 310, the landscape and design standards, we're seeking a waiver from that. And your landscape and design standards actually mention orchards as part of what they feel is, appropriate landscaping, and that's what the town likes. They like to see orchards, so we have that. So we're asking for a waiver to the landscaping design standards. That's the second waiver. The third is the parking. It's my understanding that town staff, they want to see that unpaved area of Max Apple be paved. We do have a portion of our parking area paved. We are asking that not be applied to us and that we be granted a waiver, that it will be a significant cost to the farm to pave it. That would have a big effect on how it's going to look from Mammoth Road. It's going to affect the look of the farm stand as it exists now. There is a provision, and I have that also for you on page 17, that talks about an alternative surfacing, that the planning board may permit a complete or partial substitution of an alternative surfacing for a paved surfacing area on a parking lot, and then it goes on that provides some more information to the board. We are in the process of discussing that with town staff. If we can't come up with something that town staff would be agreeable with that alternative surfacing, we would be asking for a waiver to the parking, or the requirement to pave the parking area, and that's on page 17. And the next one is on page 18. That is and we have not asked for this yet, but I wanted to bring it to the board's attention, would be a traffic impact analysis. I did put that in there, that's section 3.14. We believe that we satisfied, or we meet the requirements of a minor analysis with the traffic letter that we have presented to town staff. I know town staff is still discussing that with us, but if they were to require us to do a full traffic analysis, that would be cost prohibitive, but we have met with, our traffic engineer has met with NHDOT, or has had a conversation with NHDOT, because that is a state road. We are in the process of working with NHDOT to determine what, if any, concerns that they may have, and we'll take that information back to the town to see how that lands. But that could be another potential waiver that we would be seeking. And that's all I have. So that's a lot, but we would like to get some feedback from the board regarding the waivers and just the overall feel of the project. And I failed to mention that it's 99 seats. I think when everybody was here before, God bless you, when everybody was here back, I believe in July, there was a conceptual presentation that was not with me, and there was a talk about maybe it being 250 seats, 200 seats. We have cut that down dramatically, so it is 99 seats, and we have received approval from the fire department regarding what we need to do as far as safety concerns for the sprinklers for the 99 seats. So it would be 99 seats, and the entrance to it is in the back. You can see where the red is drawn. There's a little bump out in the back, and that's going to be where it will be, we'll make it look pretty. That is the entrance area there.
Thank you. All right, I will start with staff. Kelly, John, do you have any input at this time?
No, right now.
Just to acknowledge that the applicants proceeded with a design review application, so as mentioned, that's under our review. But should you have any questions through this discussion, we're happy to answer.
Sure.
It's one thing I would like to clarify though too, so Laura's correct, we did meet with the applicant a number of times. It's not what staff wants, it's what the regulations require.
Correct.
For everybody's edification. It's not what Trotter wants, not what Karen wants.
Yeah, John, I was going to address that as well.
Thank you.
Those are, those regulations are based on that, and
Thank you.
and staff members are the ones that advise us. So it's not what staff wants.
Correct.
All right. So I'm gonna bring it to our board here. Board, do we have any input?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Let's just unpack this a little bit.
Mr. Chair, can I interrupt for 1 second? 'Cause I do have Sean Jasper. I don't know if you wanted him to speak now. He did want to say a couple of words.
Let me go
My
through
questions are
the
going to
board.
actually address
Yeah,
this.
let me go through the board
Okay.
first.
So please, okay, so it's apparent that the state is, you're really kind of, there's rightfully legislation for agritourism. I would like to know what the state is providing us, the town, to support this, because and this is going to also, I have a lot of concerns, I'm just gonna throw it out there, it's conceptual. This is a conceptual discussion. So you're gonna take this feedback, you're gonna implement it if you so choose or see yourself. And I addressed this at the last conceptual. There is a lot of, that's a restaurant, I don't know what the business hours are gonna be, I don't know if it's gonna be year-round. Right now, Max is a crown jewel, I said that last time. I still think that. I don't see why you haven't really made a compelling case of landscape restrictions. So I would want to see that. Why, the pavement, why you're not going to pave the entire, pave it all. I don't know. I don't understand the why on that. For me, if you're putting 99, I'm glad that it came down from 250 because I do have significant concerns if this thing is open at night. It's a state road. There's no lights. I see safety issues with coming out of that establishment, coming in, having it very, dark and such. You're coming up a hill anyway, and even during the summer months when I'm when we're at the ice cream stand, you have to go up that hill, to get out. It's a fairly, it's not your fault, but it can get a little hairy. So I'm going to say this. I really don't like hearing cost being prohibitive. I want to understand why. So that, I don't think that argument, I think we can probably, you can find out why there. I also want to understand where the state is at and how the state is going to support, agritourism at our, in our municipalities. And that's great, and I support it, but I also think that the state really should also address some of these, kind of emerging issues that either they are an issue or they're not. And we're not going to be able to find out if they're an issue unless a study is done and facts emerge. I can say it's an issue, you can say it's not. Where does that get us? Nowhere. So, Mr. Commissioner, if you want to kind of come up and address, I do appreciate you being here. Thank you for making the time. And
Thank you. For the record, I am Sean Jasper, Commissioner of the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture, Markets and Food, and I've been in this position since the end of 2017. This is an issue that is very important to the state of New Hampshire. The state is not going to provide anything. The state has determined, and this board can only operate really under state statutes. You have regulations which are allowed by the statute, but the law of the land really starts with the U.S. Constitution and then the state laws and Constitution. So there's nothing that's going to be provided here. I can't help but notice that over here in this room are the pictures of Max apples. Agriculture, quite frankly, and I hate to say this, is to a very large degree a dying entity in the state of New Hampshire. We are losing farms on a regular basis. I understand the position you're in. I was a selectman in Hudson for 17 years and served as a board's representative to the planning board. I was also a firefighter for 20 years as a call firefighter. And I bring that up because you had a very large apple orchard that is now a very large development. I was there that night that the barn burned, and that was probably 30 years ago or better. You had 4 large orchards. Now you're having Elwoods is going to be developed. You're down to 2. You have on your letterhead, you have an apple. No farm is going to survive of the magnitude that you're talking here. There are some that can survive without agritourism. But every farm in this state has to diversify. And if you want that, and Londonderry has a proud heritage and I'm proud of it, you have to work with those people. Now, I'm going to tell you that they're being more generous than I would be. And as a member of the legislature for 23 years and the last 3 as speaker, I was in the legislature when most of these statutes were passed, so I have some pretty intimate knowledge of them. It's not a question of whether agritourism is allowed. Agritourism is defined by the state as farm, agriculture, farming. It's part of marketing. There are 8 categories that the legislature has laid out that said, here are the things that are agriculture. Marketing is number 5 in the statute, and agritourism is part of that. So it's, the question was this agritourism? And in fact, it's stated serving a meal. And you have your
I got a
zone-
question for you on that, Mr. Commissioner.
Sure.
Serving a meal is a 99-person sit-down restaurant. Now, I feel as though agritourism is something that Max Apples is very much participating in right now, today, along with other farms in town, that I think is a very important part of keeping these farms alive. Serving a meal, to me, is a place where you can walk up and get small food, not sit down at a restaurant, because a restaurant is a commercial item. Whether it's farm to table or not, I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around, and, you know, even the way it's worded, serving a meal, not sitting down at a restaurant.
You know,
Help me understand that a little better, please.
well, I think that anything you look at in statute, you can't go to every single circumstance. Serving a meal. You know, it doesn't say picking up a meal, serving a meal. To serve a meal implies that you are going to be sitting down and having a meal. And that happens all over this state in many of our farms that have agritourism. They have weddings, they have venues, they have barns where the meals are served. This is not a new concept. This is something that is happening all over the place and all over the state and has not been questioned as part of agritourism. And so, you know, I think that is pretty much a settled question if you look globally within the state.
Mr. Chair, has anyone questioned that this is agritourism?
I'm questioning if it's, I'm certainly questioning if a restaurant is considered agritourism.
At the initial, when they came, there was a question about whether it was.
Correct, and I still don't think we have a board have addressed if we feel as though this is agritourism.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Commissioner,
Yes.
I've been to a number of these venues where there are vineyards now, and Sorvino and some of the others. Are those agritourism?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
You know, the thing about agritourism is that it is part of the operation. You know, it's necessary. We've been through a big issue that many of you may have read about with Vernon Family Farm in Newfields.
Yep.
I mean, I started out years ago working with the Vernon family on that, and we finally gotten through that issue. I started out working with Kyle over a year ago, and I've attended at least 2 meetings with your staff over the last 2 years about these issues, and you now do have a determination. You know, and so this really is if you care at all about eating, having agriculture, the town needs to be supportive of these things. Now, one of the things that I feel that the applicant is being much more generous than I would be is that I would be looking to apply 674-32B, existing agricultural uses and activities, that says any agricultural use or activity which exists pursuant to RSA 674-32A may without restriction be expanded, altered to meet changing technology or markets. Agritourism is part of markets, or changed to another agricultural use or activity as set forth in RSA 2134A, and it goes on. Every single time I have been involved with a town and we've talked about expansion, every single time we're talking about a physical expansion of a building. There is no physical expansion on this site. This is what is actually allowed here. You know, expanded to meet changing technology or markets, or changed. Expanded means just that. And so when you go down, and the applicants have gone down and said, and have considered this to be a significant expansion. There's not a significant expansion here because there is no physical expansion. But you have a right and a duty to be concerned about the traffic. There are, you know, obviously a leach field is needed. There are things that this town should be concerned about. You should be working, in my opinion, with the applicant to deal with those issues. A full-blown site plan is cost prohibitive, a full-blown traffic study. You know, you're going to end up with another vacant farm ultimately. I know that most of the land is under conservation and it's not going to be used for anything else, but some of it will be. But you'd be putting another business out of business. This state was known for apple production. We've been slaughtered by, you know, production in other states. You've got 2 left, and this was a town that was really built on apples. So I'm asking you to recognize that, in fact, agritourism means serving meals, and that you can work with the applicant, you can address your concerns without putting them out of business. I worked from the start with Kyle, telling him you needed to work with the town officials, that needed to work with the fire department, make sure the building was able to be converted to a restaurant. And, you know, I think he's done everything that can reasonably expected of him. He is in a very difficult business. He bought it, and, you know, he doesn't have a legacy as the Mack family did, but for them even, it was impossible to keep going. None of the family members were willing to take on that responsibility of that farm that's been going since the 1700s. You have the opportunity here to save this farm, to help it grow and expand, protect your community, or you can sit here and just say goodbye to another farm, because I can tell you from my experience and what's going on in the state, that is exactly what you'll be doing to this farm. if
So,
you don't
Mr.
work with
Commissioner,
them.
I've got a question for you, just for some clarification. You want us to work with the applicant, you feel as though a site plan is not warranted, and this is something that we can do without a full site plan?
I think you can. They have the
Not
park.
only do you want us to put a restaurant at a farm stand, you're asking us to not go through a site plan for a restaurant.
For an 8,
So I can understand what you're asking.
I am asking you to work with the applicant. They have the parking. What I've suggested, and I've seen some of the documentation that, you know, haven't got to that point, and I've told Kyle, I said, you can't have the restaurant open at the same time that you are in peak season with pick your own and the farm stand going on. There's got to be some reasonableness there. You have a certain amount of parking spaces, and you have a certain amount of customers already. So there's got to be compromise there. I think it's reasonable to put some restrictions on hours of operation when he is in peak season. I think that certainly a minor site plan looking at, you know, the egress to the back of the building, to the placement of the leach field, some of those things. But I don't think that you need a full-blown site plan to do that. I know how expensive they can be, and I think you can work with them on that. I think it is reasonable for you to have expectations. I'm not saying just say, hey, let them do it as it is, although frankly, I think if push came to shove, but court cases are very expensive, I think that the courts would say there is no expansion here because you're not changing the footprint of the operation.
Commissioner, my wife does weddings, so I've seen dozens of these remade facilities around the state. And I will say, I'm in favor of the use, okay? But what I have seen going around the state and going in these facilities and talking to the owners is there has been significant changes done to bring them up to code. Significant things that had to be done even within an existing footprint. Grandfathering clauses all went away. And it's all really based around life safety and around their insurance. So, I mean, while I understand what you're saying, and I am in favor of the use, it is, you know, it's bigger than, you know.
Let me be clear, and I've said to Kyle right from the beginning, you have to bring that building up to life safety codes. I mean, there's no exemption from life safety codes from this. He has to do everything to meet the fire department's concerns. And I say that not only as commissioner believing that, I say that as a firefighter for 20 years.
And we agree. These facilities, and you've seen them, make significant investments. So back in the napkin here would be really hard, and I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry,
Mr.
Tony.
DeFrancesco.
I asked him if I could.
Yeah,
Not a
we're good, we're good. First of all, thank you so much for coming and taking the time out of your day to help us with what I perceive is a major problem that we have before us. We have a farm that bisects our town on a major state thruway with, I wouldn't even try to guess the number of cars, automobiles, vehicles, ambulances that come zipping around that corner, going downhill at night in the rain and snow all year long. You didn't know that about Londonderry. We have snow all the time. And just like the state, it's interesting that you mentioned that Londonderry has an apple on its letterhead. The apple is the thing. And you're worried about it disappearing. And what does the state have? The old man of the mountain. Still on the letterhead, still on the signs. So Londonderry and the state will always work together, and will always have to work together. But this is a problem. I am not either in favor or not in favor of this project. What I am in favor of is the oath that I swore when I took this position, which I take very seriously. And to tell you how seriously I take it, we just got, and for those of you in the audience and those watching on TV, we just got at the last meeting the brand new code book that has all the RSAs in it. And I spent all weekend checking for revisions, finding out why the pages didn't match up between the last one, which was red, and this one's blue, and trying to figure out where the changes were and preparing for this meeting. So I take this very seriously. And I will tell you that right now, there's a problem. And one of the biggest problems is that in Londonderry, anytime there's a change of use, the site plan is opened up. And it's opened up for a lot of reasons, because stuff happens after 75 years and need to be upgraded. Things change, laws change, regulations change. All those things change. And I personally, one person, would be in favor of a full site plan so that we can have our staff take a hard look at what's going on, what's there, what's not there, how is it there. And by the way, we heard about a pond that's not a pond, but it is a pond, but it was only for watering. Well, the kids feed the ducks there. I've seen people pull fish out of there. I don't know how that happens. That must be a miracle. Another thing that Londonderry has in common with the state. And so there's a lot at stake here. Then there's the matter of fairness, right? We have the state, which on many occasions, and I'm really short, but I have really broad shoulders. The state, for decades now, have given us unfunded mandates. And now it gives us agritourism, and we're supposed to bow down and genuflect and stop all the rules and regulations that we have. When in fact, that's not what it says in the rules and regulations, and that's not what was presented here tonight. And you know what I'm going to say, because the case law that was mentioned specifically says the legislation intended to require municipalities to allow agritourism within their borders. At most, they evince the legislature's general intent to support traditional agriculture and agricultural activities, and they demonstrate legislative intent to allow reasonable local regulations and ordinances. That's the fact. That's the case law. And you know better than I do, you can have RSAs all over the place, but until it's been tested by law, and the case law has been posted that's when it really becomes something. And so in this case, we need to, the word is reasonable, be able to work together. In order to do that, we need to know what's there and what's not there. And it's to me, one person, it's a change of use. If it's 12, 100, 250, it's a change of use. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for entertaining my comments.
Anything else from the board? Yes.
In general, I am positive. I lean positive towards this. I do think that, I mean, one of my best friends lived on Putnam Road, right across the street from your farm in Hudson. I went to Alvin. So, like, I understand the challenge that farms face. And I am leaning positively towards this, but we need to see what is going to happen there, what this is going to look like, what changes are going to be made, how you're going to address the things that need to be addressed, right? Site plans cost money, absolutely, but they're done for a reason. And that reason is so that we know what is being built in town, and so that everyone is on the same page as to exactly what's happening there. And without a site plan review, one party knows exactly what's happening, and we're kind of hoping that that's what's happening. So, again, in general, I'm favorable to this, but I don't think it's fair to expect to not go through a site plan review.
Mr. Chairman, would you allow me to
Of course.
respond to a couple of things? I mean, first of all, we all took the same oath as to the laws and the constitutions. It's not to regulations. In the laws, what we're looking at, you may not like the laws, you might not like the way they were enacted, but the laws are the laws, and that's what all town local ordinances come from. And so I certainly understand the concern about traffic. I think the applicant is willing to work with you on that, and I would certainly encourage them that there probably does need. I drove by there tonight. It's dark. There needs to be more street lighting. I've personally, and through my business, have paid for street lights on poles to provide that lighting. So that's not something that's unreasonable. I think that knowing what's on a site plan, now there's a big difference between a full-blown site plan and a minor site plan. Because if you want to know the location of the buildings, I know there's been a site plan there. Some of that's already been done. But if you're talking sending people out there to survey 8 acres where you have a very small area that's going to be used, I think that's an undue burden. And, you may have the opinion that a restaurant in this circumstance is not agriculture. You can litigate that. You have a zoning opinion on that. I think we should be beyond that and talking about what are the things that need to be done. I'm concerned about traffic. I think Kyle's concerned about traffic. How do we get there? Is it going to take a traffic study that could cost tens of thousands of dollars, or are there ways that people can work together to find out the information? I am asking you to work with the applicant to get there. And not bankrupt him in the process. But I do think, you may not like what the legislature does, and I will tell you there are many times when I don't like what the legislature does. I didn't always like what it did when I was there. But that doesn't mean that that's not the law. And so I'm just asking you, please, to work with the applicant here, find a reasonable way to keep this farm operating. And this is most likely, what can save it, because quite frankly, with the weather we've been having, I mean, the apple crops, I mean, I'm still in the process as commissioner where we gave out, millions of dollars when we had the drought a few years ago. We're in the process of giving out more federal funds because of the weather in 23 and 24. Farms cannot survive in this climate that are doing outdoor agriculture, and even dairy farms are dropping. The former commissioner was a dairy farmer. They just sold their cows 6 months ago. They couldn't continue. I just heard of another farm closing. They're closing all over the place. And I think we saw through the pandemic how important local produce can be when we have a shutdown in our transportation networks, and we need to be doing everything we can to keep our food supply local. I thank you for your time and for your indulgence, and
Thank
I
you,
wish
sir.
you the best of
Thank you
luck
very
in
much.
dealing with this.
Jake,
Mr. Chair?
could you
Yes, sir.
stay
Oh,
for
hold
a
on.
second?
Sure.
I
Ann,
just
go
want to
ahead.
mention that we have Merrill's Farm up in the North Village area, so don't forget about that one.
No, I'm well aware of that. They're in apples and poultry,
Yes.
but they're struggling as well.
I know, I support them.
Yeah. They are struggling.
Thank you very much. Can I have, ask
Yep.
a question from the applicant? Is it going to have a liquor license also?
I believe the intent is to do that.
Just curious.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
So first of all, I am in support of this. I think it's a great thing. I've seen what they've done in other states. I know that some of the other orchards in town have started to diversify. I can tell you just by looking at this, that the few concerns with some of my other board mates have stated, the fire safety, the septic, the paving, the drainage, the traffic, but I think those all can be handled. Having built and owning a restaurant myself, I can tell you that it's gonna probably cost you double what you think. I see what you tried to do to kind of put it in there. I understand you don't have to build infrastructure, but bringing this whole building up to code, I think is gonna be a lot, especially with a commercial kitchen. If it was me, I'd actually build a whole separate building over here, because that farm stand, I think, is like a tinderbox. I mean, you get one grease fire, I mean, the whole thing could go. That's what concerns me the most about this project. I'd love to see it. I think it's gonna be very successful. I think you might need to bring on some other partners maybe to invest in this if it's too much. I think it's a good idea. I don't love the idea of being in the old farm stand, although it feels nice. I worry about the safety aspect of that. So those are my concerns and my advice. But yeah, I agree with the others that, a site plan is needed. When you open up one of these things, you open up Pandora's box. That's why it's almost easier to go, use a different building, and that's just my opinion.
And so just I want to finish up one of my thoughts, please. The pond, non-pond, I can't remember what you called it, I'm sorry. Whatever it is. It's water, it's wet, there's living things in there. It's never gonna it's never seen as much pressure as there's gonna be on it once there's cars on that all winter long with all the salt and all the runoff and everything else that's going on there. There's gotta be something done with drainage there, and there's gotta be something done with impervious, pervious, whatever you wanna call it, to protect that pond. That pond is a living organism. Whether someone dug it with a shovel or whether it happened naturally, to me, it doesn't really matter, because right now, it is what it is. And I was told that one time when I got my ears boxed in at a conservation commission up in Bristol, New Hampshire, when I was trying to do something up there. And it was, I got the old snapshot in time metaphor. And so it's wet. Something's got to be done about that. How are you going to do that? Well, you got to open up the site, and you got to do drainage calcs, and you got to do it to protect that thing. And I don't know how else to do it other than with the site plan. That's why the site plan is there. You got the checklist. You got everything's done. Instead of you do one thing and then somebody comes along and says, well, what about this? And then all of a sudden it's, what about this? Just do the site plan, do the checklist, and everything gets taken care of all at once, and then we'll decide at this level whether there's gonna be exceptions or not, depending on what you find, what you don't find, how you find it. Thank you.
I'll try not to
Mr. Rugg,
repeat anything.
Mr. Rugg, I think, had his hand
Good,
up.
sir. Please proceed. Want me to go?
Yeah, you
I'll
go.
try- I'm not gonna repeat anything, so I'm gonna try to be quick.
That's gonna be quick too.
Yeah, I mean, my wife was friends with Mr. Mack, Andy Mack, for over 50 years and everything. You all know where the leach field is for the farmhouse?
Yeah.
You know where it is? It's across the street. All right, that tells you how unusual, a lot this is. Yeah, I have to agree with the fellow board members. It's got to be a fairness type of thing. We keep talking about what's unreasonable. I mean, the definition is not guided by or based on good sense. I think we're applying good sense. And I get the cost thing. I understand. But every applicant can walk in here and say the same thing. Thank you.
Mr. Rugg?
This kind of brings me back probably in the vicinity of 30, or probably close to 40 years ago when Andy Mack approached the planning board at that time. I'm dating myself. And Andy wanted to put in an ice cream stand, and there was a fairly good, public debate on, and there was no agritourism, statutes or anything, But, I think he at least wanted to, it wasn't the agriculture from the property itself, it was agriculture that he purchased to produce the ice cream. And a lot of that was to support. And the town was probably smaller than half the size it is right now, but people were very supportive of Andy. And that's where the board took the risk, and we decided, it was really a town thing, and supported agriculture because we knew agriculture was important. Because I think, as Mr. Jasper has indicated, we have to eat. And New Hampshire imports probably about 90 to 95% of its food. It comes from outside of New England. So I think we have to start thinking closer to home. I mean, I love my garden. I have my garden. Hopefully, some of the products that is raised at Max can be used in the production of food. But I think we have to look at the bigger picture, and I mean, the whole survival of agriculture probably goes back 50, 70, 80 years ago, and that's where the farms started dying off, because there's plenty of milk at that time. Now, where is there a dairy farm? You have to go to Vermont, and Vermont supports their agriculture. So I think generally this is a good idea. I think we need to go through the site plan process, because there's a protection of both public safety and public health to make sure the operation performs, to the town's liking and fits in also. Max has always fitted in with the town, and we have to take a long, hard look at our agriculture.
Mr. Penta, I think you had something?
Yeah, and I'll be quick, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Yeah, so I guess in the spirit of partnership, if that's what you want to kind of call that, it's the law's the law. The state, obviously, Commissioner, Jasper definitely made it sense. It's the law. Have to follow the law. The presentation itself, while thorough, and I appreciate what you provided, Attorney Gandia, it was, it speaks to me a lot of RSA. You're throwing RSAs at us. You're throwing what I am looking for. I am a very simple person. What are you trying to do? Why you're doing it? What's the impact? What's the result? How is it going to benefit Londonderry? 5, 6 slides. I'm going to go in on a soapbox. I don't understand why more people do not come to this board with 5 to 6 slides, trying to understand what we're trying to do, why what the waivers are. This is a lot of information to kind of take in. I want to advise you appropriately. We want to partner with you. And yes, I love Max Apples. My kids love Max Apples. I want this to work. I really do. I want also to provide the safety and all the other kind of items that, kind of go with that. You're on a state road. So we totally get that. And I think Commissioner Jasper provided some good insights about lights and such like that. If we can, kind of work that way. What are you like? What are we trying to definitely do? What's the we have problems. How are we going to solve them? You present us how you're going to solve them. We may say, yeah, that's a great idea, or we be like, oh nope, that doesn't fit here. It's complicated, I get it, and I appreciate the time. I appreciate you coming in for a second conceptual. And I think, and I do want to kind of end it on kind of that note, but take this time to really kind of like identify what we're trying to do here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else from the board? Yes, sir.
I'll be quick. I'll say that I'm for it. I think we've heard a lot of times with people wanting restaurants come to town, and I know we want it on Main Street, but I'll take it on Mammoth Road if that's where we're gonna get it. But I do agree with most of the board. I think a site plan is gonna be useful for us to determine if, you know, it's gonna meet the standard that we require, so.
Yes, sir.
Being on the master plan committee as well, one of the big things in this community is preserving the agriculture in this community. We did a land use map. One of the dots overwhelmingly was around the area of Max Apples and the town common of do not touch and make sure that we preserve this area of town. I think it would be an absolute just disaster if Max would fall on hard times and all of a sudden not be able to have a viable business there. So I do support this plan. I do think, though, there is some safety issues with that road. I think some of the lighting and things need to be fixed, and I think that's something we can work out. But I want to see this go through, and I want to see a viable business there, and I think that's very important to this community.
Can I just make some closing comments?
1 minute. Anything else from the board? Laura?
Thank you, and thank you for everybody's comments, input. There's a lot that's been talked about. I just want to, kind of regroup. And Jeff, to you, the reason why you have all of this is when I worked here, there were, stuff came to us for agritourism, and there was nothing. My understanding, the planning board never had any type of education on agritourism, and activities. So this, for me, was to help you folks, to give you a framework in which you could operate so you understand the statutes. I haven't seen that given to you before, so my point in giving that to you was to set the framework for you, so when I'm speaking about stuff, you can understand when I'm saying may and shall, that's coming here for you, and that's why I did that. And there's been a lot of talk about site plan, no site plan. I know Commissioner Jasper's like, no site plan. I said, yeah, I hear you, but what did we do? You have a site plan. So there is a site plan. So you have a site plan. We submitted a site plan for you at great expense to Max Apple. That's one page of that site plan. It's under design review. So it's not like you don't have a site plan. You have a site plan.
We don't. That's the problem.
Well, it's under
Because
design
because
review.
it's we're conceptual right now.
But I think town staff said a formal an application for design review with a site plan has been submitted with traffic information and everything else. So we did do that. So despite, the going back and forth, you have a site plan. We are undergoing a site plan review for you, and I could have postured up, but I had a feeling that this input that we're seeing from the board was exactly what we were gonna get. So you have a site plan, it's there, but what we're asking for is some relief with some of those waivers, with some of those requirements. We're asking for that is where the reasonableness is coming from. We're being reasonable, we're giving you the site plan. You may not have it right now, but it's with the town staff, it's under review, so you have the site plan.
I'm sorry, but that sounds like you did us a favor. You didn't do us a favor by giving us a site or giving them a site plan. That's not fair to say it like that.
No, what I'm saying, there was discussion about whether
That's
or not.
what you just said was that's not fair.
Okay.
That's not fair to this board, and it's not fair to town staff to say that. You're not doing anybody a favor. You're meeting the regulations of the town.
The state statute says may. And the town is requiring that we do, and we are.
Thank you.
Again, it was a may by state statute. The town said yes, and we are. And as far as life safety, I know you mentioned that. That is something that we've been working with the fire department on. We have had multiple conversations with Brian Johnson about that. We are working with him. As far as lighting, we do have a lighting plan, so we did submit that as well. The stuff that's talking about production, Mr. Rugg, you asked about production. That is Mac's intent is to provide food that's produced on the farm to be signature items on the menu. So we are doing that as well. And I'm just looking for clarification, and maybe town staff can help with this, is as far as the use determination, as whether to not, the restaurant is agritourism and is permitted. It was my understanding that that issue was decided and that we could move forward without just having any further discussion on that. We do have a decision from your zoning administrator. If that's not accurate, I would like to know that, just so we can understand the board's position moving forward, but I thought that that was a non-issue.
Before we get to that, before we do that, can I just do this one more time? So I want the general public, because people actually do watch these on TV. They might not be watching them tonight, but they do watch them later on at their own leisure when it's snowing out and it's a pajama day and they have nothing else to do.
They watch it online.
That too. So I want to be very clear that the agritourism thing that comes down from the state, for lack of a better term, is very pointed. However, in several places, and I already read one of them, which was Forrester versus the town of Henniker in 2015, that I read to the commissioner, that he fully knew what that was because he was in the room when it was litigated. But it also, in another place, in 674-32C, it says that nothing in the subdivision RSA 634-32B shall exempt new, reestablished, or expanded agricultural operations or activities from generally applicable building and site requirements, such as dimensional standards, setbacks, driveway, traffic regulations, parking requirements, noise, odor, vibration, restrictions, or sign regulations. So there's a lot of places in these RSAs where it says, yes, it's agritourism, and yes, we're going to work together and we're going to try and make it happen. But the presentation and this paper made it sound like that this board had to get on its knees and kiss the book and the state and say, oh, do whatever you want. That's what it sounded like to me, because nowhere in the presentation did it happen to mention the two things that I just cited that said the town doesn't have to yield anywhere. It just has to be reasonable.
Can I respond?
1 minute. Jason.
I feel like we're getting off track here. This is rapidly seeming to turn personal. I don't know why.
I don't think it's
not personal at all.
But
It's not.
and I'm not saying, I'm just saying tensions are getting up there. We're getting off track from what we're talking about, right?
I feel like we're getting talked down to.
I
don't like it.
and I understand what you're saying there, Tony, because I kind of felt that too. But I think if you look, like, quantifiably, right? Does this meet the definition of agritourism? If our zoning person says it does, then it probably does, right? We want a site plan. You say we're giving it. You say we're getting a site plan. It's in design review. That's the standard process. Good. That's what we want to hear, right? I feel like we're kind of going in circles here a little bit, right? We've gone through the conceptual review, right? Unless there's new stuff coming up, I feel like we can kind of wrap this conversation up a little bit.
Okay, and I apologize if I overstepped my bounds.
No worries, no worries. I think we needed to take it down a notch a little bit.
Yeah, and I think in summary, I think a lot of us are in support of this use.
Absolutely.
We have concerns going forward, and we'll work through those concerns. So I don't want you to walk away from here saying, "Oh my God, the town doesn't want this." No, I think the town wants this. I think it would be great for the town. There's just concerns, and if you can make that guy over there, John, happy, then we're typically happy.
And
So.
tell us how to do that.
You might be the first, but you know. I'm telling you, I will lead the parade. If I will lead the parade to support, get this thing supported and get it done, if we can meet these requirements, I will lead the parade because I think it's a good thing. But we've got rules.
Now, we don't know what we don't know. So if there's something with the drainage and it's 2 feet off rather than 1 foot off, those are the things we can, it's hard to say that, oh yeah, we're gonna waive everything. We can't,
To
we're
be
not at
very
that
clear,
stage.
it's not making John happy, it's making this board happy.
No, I know, I'm just
Just
saying
be
for
very
me,
clear, 'cause it's
when
like
he's
the third
happy,
time tonight.
I know that,
Can
it's
I
a,
just-
yeah.
It's not about someone's feelings.
Correct.
It's about the regulations.
Correct.
okay? So
Thank you.
just
Let's
time out.
stick with the facts.
Sorry.
Do you want me to address this use question?
Yeah, I do,
So-
because I'm still not, I know it seems like I'm the only one, but I still just can't wrap my head around how a restaurant is considered agritourism. So I really need help
So back in
understanding.
July, when we first started this conversation, staff hadn't analyzed this either. The process for making a zoning determination is going through the zoning administrator, and Nick Connor, our zoning administrator, evaluated the criteria of the state law and came to the conclusion that this is agritourism, and that is a permitted use by right in AR1. In my professional review of it, I agree with that determination. I don't view it as this board's role to make that determination. That's why you have a zoning administrator to do exactly that. That doesn't fall within your purview, in my opinion.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, this whole thing falls on us. So while we have a zoning administrator, I do feel as though, to a degree, it falls in our purview.
Well, if he had said it's not permitted by right and they did a variance, then it would go to ZBA and they'd get relief from our regulations and then come to you and you would have to review it as such with said relief.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
Are you looking for an additional opinion above the zoning administrator to make sure we're making the right decision?
Personally, one person, I feel as though this is not agritourism. It's evident that the board does feel as though it falls within agritourism. So if that's the case, then so be it, and I'll agree with it. But I don't think a restaurant is agritourism. Being provided a meal and sitting down at a 100-person restaurant is two totally different things. Being provided a meal is that farm in Boxwood, Mass, that you can go bring your kids to all this stuff and do hay rides, and there's a little market that they serve hot food to that you go sit on a picnic table. That's being provided a meal. Sitting down at a fully functioning restaurant is way more than being provided a meal. And, to me, New Hampshire agritourism involves attracting visitors for experiences like farm stays, pick your own, education, or events as accessory primary to farming. A restaurant is not an accessory to farming. Yes, there is food that is generated at a farm.
But not that farm.
Certainly not that farm. And to go on, it says, supported by resources from organizations like the New Hampshire Food Alliance. Oh, well, New Hampshire Food Alliance, they must know something about food. Agritourism can offer value opportunities for farms and other businesses, this is from New Hampshire Food Alliance, to generate diversified, multi-season income while offering memorable and educational farm-based experiences for visitors through activities and entertainment like farm stays, pick your own, they do that, corn mazes, they do that, festivals, that would be something that food is served at, a Deerfield Fair type thing. What about that? This is New Hampshire Food Alliance now. What about that says put a 100-person restaurant at a farm? That's my problem. Is I love the idea of it. I think, as everybody says, Londonderry needs another restaurant. I just don't see how this is agritourism. This will become, and whatever the board wants, if they disagree, they disagree, and I'll stop talking about it. Max Apples will go from a farm stand to a restaurant that you can buy some apples at. And if you think it's anything other than that, you're crazy.
I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. Would it help you get a legal opinion from someone who does this? And I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer, I'd just tell you, hey, this is the answer. Because I don't know the answer, because I think you make valid points.
Should we take a
I'm here saying I disagree. I'd like to know officially what the planning board feels like. If the planning board says, hey, a restaurant at Max Apples is agritourism, then I'll shut up and it's on to the site plan.
I think we like the idea of where it's headed. We just don't like how it's being jammed down the throat.
I have it, the whole,
this is what it is.
Support a restaurant, it's agritourism.
We like the idea of what's being pitched.
We don't want you to do a site plan. Imagine if I said, hey, T-Bones, you don't need a site plan? This room would be full.
So Jake, why don't we?
I'm more than happy to do that.
So, to me, the legal opinion is irrelevant.
I'm not asking for a legal opinion.
No,
I'm asking for the board to. If the board feels as though I'm wrong, okay, it's done.
I guess what I'm saying is, I feel that either way it's irrelevant, because it seems like we all feel strongly about those regulations that law
No,
would
I thi-
otherwise, or
I think it's
release
very
them from.
relevant, because before they go through a site plan process, we need to have a very good understanding and feeling if the board feels this, and like I said, I already know how y'all are gonna, what you're gonna say, but I think we need to say it.
But the elephant in the room is Nick Codner's decision.
Yeah.
That's
No
that's
kidding.
that's the elephant in the room, because the question that I would have, I could blow up this whole thing. I could blow up a whole other side of this thing, because the question is, if there was an AR1 lot, 8 acres, 9 acres, whatever it is, in the Kings, would they be allowed to bring in 90 to 95% of the food from an off-site farm and have a restaurant? Or would it have to go to ZBA?
Yep.
Because if you put up on the, Kelly, could you, can I ask Kelly?
Sure.
quickly? Kelly, could you please, on the town map, put up the site, this particular site,
The Kings or Max?
Max?
You're gonna start the rumor now.
Put up Kevin's house, tell his wife it's gonna be a restaurant. So if you do the overlay of the imagery, yeah, you knew where I was going.
I got it.
Where's, on this site, on this piece of land, okay? Everything else, the town has an easement on. Okay, so it will never be anything because the town has the easement. Okay, all the white part is the easement. Okay? So the middle where the little finger is right now is the building and the land that technically needs to be a farm in order to have agritourism. Where's the farm part? There is no farm on this lot, and this is the lot in question. What's the number, please? 71, what is it?
230 Mammoth Road?
The address, 230.
No, he's asking
No.
for the tax.
Can I ask why we're trying to blow this up?
620,
I'm not trying to blow it
621.
up.
I'm
We're
just,
still trying to-
I'm answering, I'm helping answer the question because because it's confused. The question.
I'm not confused at
So
all.
that, so the question is, how is it agritourism if there's no farm on that lot?
No, the
It's
question
a whole separate lot.
the question is a restaurant agritourism? That's my question.
You're not wrong. What's gonna happen is that if they go forward, you're gonna have a 99-seat restaurant. Once it becomes more successful, they're going to expand the restaurant, and it's going to get larger. And if it's a good business idea, this is the beginning. You're not wrong in your analysis. Right?
But if that ends up saving Max Apples, how is that a bad thing?
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying he wasn't wrong
No,
in his
no,
analysis.
I feel like it's kind of getting.
I'm not necessarily
I'm
saying
not-
it's a
I'm not
bad thing
saying
either.
that.
Hold on, time out.
I think we're
Time
getting
out, I'm
off
talking.
course here.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. I'm saying I don't think it's agritourism. It's two totally different things.
Which is why I said, whenever we did the first time, I said, go to ZBA. Go to ZBA. Let's put a restaurant there. Let's have fun.
Well, they went to the zoning commissioner who said that it's agritourism. I don't know what
Here's
else
my
they're supposed to
suggestion,
do.
because this is not going anywhere unless you want to go through the board. If you want
I
a
still
legal
wanna go through
opinion
the
on
board.
this, which to be clear, I did not seek because I didn't think it was necessary to spend the monies on that, quite frankly, given the information that we have from our zoning administrator and based on my professional opinion. But the board is well within its right to ask for that, should you want that opinion. So,
What I want,
the board
May I
wants.
speak for a moment?
no. What I want is a consensus from the board, is what I want.
So let's do it.
Like I said, I know
You
what the
have that
consensus
option
is,
if
but
you
let's
want.
hear it so we can move on.
A consensus. What's the consensus?
Is this is a restaurant at Max Apples, a 100-seat restaurant, not whatever it is, considered agritourism? I want yes or a no. I already know where it is, but I think we got to get through that so we can
Yes.
move on to the next
Then
thing.
let's do it. Please.
Well, I had a question first. Is a place like La Belle's agritourism?
Yes.
Because they have a restaurant with
Yeah.
their
Yes.
business. So this isn't making any
Also a
precedent.
golf course. If I may, because of their zoning. that
You have to
question
come up
never
to the
came
mi-
up.
Mr. Commissioner. You have to come up to the mic. See, you thought I was gonna cut you off. All I wanted you to do was come to the
No,
mic.
so in many cases, the issue of agritourism doesn't come up because if the activity is allowed in the zone, then it's never an issue. So, whether it's agritourism, I consider it to be agritourism, but it's not a legal issue because of, it was apparently allowed in the zone.
So you're saying in a LaBelle's case, it was allowed in the zone here regardless because it's a commercial zone?
And if I may, to clarify the law, because of this very issue, the legislature wanted to take all the courts out of the issue of is something agritourism or not, except for the Supreme Court. In this case, I was here giving you my opinion because the zoning administrator already gave an opinion, which agreed, with the request. But what the law says, if there is a disagreement between the town and the applicant, that can be appealed to the commissioner, who would make a determination as to whether it was agritourism or not. And then if one side or the other disagreed, that could go to the Supreme Court. That's the only way to go. In this case, I've already played my cards because the town and the applicant were in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. So, just so we can get it on the record, can we please go through and say if you feel as though this is agritourism or not, so I can move on?
Well, could I ask the applicant, is the produce for the restaurant, the food stuffs, is it going to be coming from the farm or is it coming from, is there any regulation of where?
It's coming from the farm. What's grown on the farm will come from the farm and be
Okay.
used in the.
And you did mention something about slowing it down for your high season for the apples. You said something about.
That was the commissioner that said that that's an option.
Oh yeah, modifying the hours so that during peak season, right? There are 10 weekends in the peak season.
Yep.
To modify the hours during those times, yes.
And why would you be modifying the hours?
To keep the traffic flow and the people on site as limited.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So do you think it is?
So, Ann, I'd like to start with you and just get a yes or a no.
Definitely is agritourism.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's agritourism.
Yeah, I think it is too, but I agree with your analysis.
Yes, you're not wrong, Jake.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, for the sake of saving Max apples.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and no. So, all right, we think it's agritourism. See, we needed to get through one thing before we can talk about the next.
How long did it
I
take
think
us to
I
get
think
there?
that I think
18
the
minutes.
board I think the board has discussed in depth the feel and the need for a full site plan analysis on this to make sure that just as we would anything else, it meets our local regulations and doesn't cause any health or safety issues to the town. Does anybody disagree with that?
I just want to say to the applicant, again, we're sorry, this is kind of our process, and we, please don't give up on the project, just keep going.
If I could just make one final comment, because there were a couple of
The
comments
last one.
made from the board members that we were trying to shove things down people's throats.
I don't even want to.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying-
Hold on. Nope. I'm gonna stop it because I don't even want to go there. So with that, thank you, folks.
Just gonna apologize if that's
Not
the
a
case.
problem. I don't even want to go
That's
down.
not the intent.
Thank you. All right.
Subdivision.
We have a public hearing on an application for formal review of a subdivision to permit an organic waste processing facility in the Gateway Business District at 162 Litchfield Road, map 14, lot 39-2, zone Gateway Business. Purpose Energy LLC is the applicant, and Nicholas F. Codner, Trust 2012, is the owner.
Sounds familiar?
Yes, sir. Come on up. Are you the applicant?
Before you go through all this,
Hold on,
I just
sir.
need an
Hold
answer
on.
on a,
Are you the applicant?
no, I am a resident of Brook Park Estates.
So we'll have a public hearing.
But before you go through it all, I just have one question. As far as notifications of the residents across from the facility, Is that not required?
So, yes, it is required. What I
And
would
I
ask,
can-
what, listen.
And I can tell you that,
Folks, what I would ask, it's a public hearing, we have a process.
okay, I'm John Saucy.
No, Mr. Saucy, you're
Yes.
not hearing me. I want you to talk. We need to go through what our process is. Our process is the applicant coming up to discuss, so we all have an idea of what they're doing here. We're gonna go to the staff, they're gonna provide their input.
What about all the people that would like to be here but don't know this is taking place?
You're going to come to the public. I would encourage you to let me get to the public so we can address your question. All right?
All right.
Thank you, sir. All right. Could I have the applicant, please? I gotta pull up the right thing here.
You should have a clicker right there.
Give me 1 second, folks.
Thanks for sharing. Having fun, John?
All right. So, Kelly, do you have anything before we get started here?
We do, if it, I think it'd be helpful. if
Yeah.
it Went first.
Please.
So we've, obviously you have a subdivision and a site plan before you this evening. The subdivision is the first item. Site plan is second. I believe the applicant is going to talk to them concurrently. Should you be okay with that? From staff standpoint, we've had many productive meetings with the applicant. However, at this stage, there are a number of outstanding items, which again, we're working through with the applicant very collaboratively. And we are recommending a continuance. That being said, staff and the applicant thought it would be beneficial to have a presentation given the nature of the use. It's not something that this board has seen before, so we thought that would be helpful should the board be willing to entertain it.
So
Thank you.
And if I could just add, again, and there are a number of outstanding checklist items as well as items that they're asking for waivers for. So I think, again, it would behoove us to not grant the waivers even for acceptance to get the clock started. My recommendation would be let them request the applicant for, if they agree to a continuance. And let's just allow them to do their presentation this evening. Obviously, there's a number of people here in the audience that are interested in what it's all about. So that would be my
So real quick,
recommendation.
from a board standpoint, obviously we have a number of checklist items here. Do we want to go for a motion to accept this, or would we like the applicant to just present for the time being?
I think just to present.
Yeah, I think just present.
Just present.
There's a lot of them, and some of them.
Okay.
Is B and C the same? Just so I understand, because they're both the
Hey,
same.
yes, but no. Yes, but no.
So-
One's a subdivision, one's a site plan.
So
Same lot.
Ryan, B creates the lots, so it's one big lot. So B separates the lots. One of them stays a residential in nature, then the other lot off of North Wentworth becomes the lot where this facility is to be built.
Okay, and are we discussing splitting the property right now, or are we discussing?
So again, what typically with something like this, Ryan, the applicant would present both ideas, basically. But again, I think, there's enough outstanding checklist items and waiver requests that, again, request the applicant to forego any of the acceptance and let's just do the presentation so everybody can understand what's happening.
Okay.
Make
Thank you.
sense?
Yep.
I'd be fine with that as a board. You all right with that? Okay, thank you. All right, gentlemen.
We have our marching orders.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nick Golan. I'm a licensed engineer and principal with TF Moran. I'm here joined by the applicant, that being Purpose Energy Londonderry LLC, who's both the developer as well as going to be an operator of this facility. That being Mr. Sean O'Neill, who's a senior vice president of development with Purpose Energy. Also with us this evening is Recycle Works, who would also be a co-operator of this facility. Dan Bonacario, the second and third president and CEO, or who are over my right shoulder here.
Other components of our project team consists of our attorney Ari Pollock from Callahan and Cottrell, and last but not least is our project consultant Kevin Smith. So we're hoping our group can give you the information that you are looking for tonight relative to what we're proposing. So if I can, just to get us situated, where are we? This is 162 Litchfield Road with access from North Wentworth Ave, tax map 14, lot 39, zone gateway business district. The area of the parcel, 50 acres. Our proposal is to subdivide that lot, creating a 15-acre lot, which would allow for the Southern New Hampshire Green Energy Campus to move forward. That 15-acre portion is specifically the portion outside of the airport access road mitigation area. So through the course of this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, why are we located here? There's a lot of real good reasons. There's a lot of great science that we're going to talk to about tonight. So relative to what we are doing here and who are some of the individuals associated with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and then we'll come back really to speak to the other components. But what are we doing? We are reducing waste streams to New Hampshire landfills, producing renewable biogas that can then be injected into the local natural gas network. At a high level, we'll see a little bit more detail from Sean.
Excuse me, Nick, before you get going though, again, these are all the residents out there. Do you have the subdivision plan?
You don't have a slide, correct? Want me to just pull it up?
We do not.
Just so that people can
There's a slide that
understand what we're
shows-
talking about.
We'll,
The break point.
our hope, should it please the board, was to introduce the project itself and its project components. And then it would lead into a more organic, natural conversation of the subdivision and the various site components, if that's agreeable.
There's a slide that shows the specific piece too.
Guess what, I think what we're getting at is that this isn't actually on Litchfield Road.
No, it's
It's
not.
way
So
far away.
the existing property has frontage on both Litchfield Road as well as North Wentworth Ave. As part of the subdivision, we will be seeking access from North Wentworth Ave and North Wentworth Ave alone. There's a bit of a story that goes into that, and I was hoping I could tell that a little later. But it really gets into the original subdivision by the town as part of the eco-industrial park, and the specific access to this lot, and the fact that it is located outside the airport access mitigation area, showing that it was intended to always be developed and to be developed with access where we're providing it. I was hoping we could touch on that as we kind of get through the slides, but if you'd entertain us, I know Sean is extremely excited to tell you a little bit about his firm and the work that we're trying to do here.
You need to pull the microphone closer, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll start by thanking you for your service. I know this don't pay so good. I live in a small town, and I know this. I really appreciate the time and effort it takes to do what you do.
And Sean, you should actually mention, I know we heard it earlier, that a minimum of 5 to 6 slides would go a long way. We may have exceeded our mandate, but he's going to try and be as efficient as he can.
I'll go fast.
Thank you.
So, so this project, I am excited to tell you about it because it does involve a lot of challenges we face as a country. I think some of these challenges involve you as a state, and I think this is a good thing. The campus is going to be one of only a very few like it in the whole country that involve depackaging of grocery waste and the digestion of that waste in the same site. So America has a big food waste challenge, more than 40 million tons of just manufactured food that never makes it to a grocery store, ends up at a landfill often every year. Then residential is your second biggest source of organic waste that goes to landfills. That's a particular problem for New Hampshire because 30% of landfilled waste is organic, and you've got 5 years left on your New Hampshire landfills. So if you can keep the organics out of your landfills, that's good for taxpayers. It's good for everybody. How do you do that? Well, 2 ways. You keep you get the food waste from the food firms, and you anaerobically digest it. Anaerobic digestion is the same thing your stomach does, pretty much similar process. And what my firm does is builds those big stomachs. And you also can take residential food waste, which we'll be doing for the town here. So the good news about these technological solutions is that 2 of the leading firms in the country are here. So RecycleWorks is one of the leading firms for depackaging food waste. That means literally mechanically taking it out of the package. This is food that wasn't, that's aged. It was a bad run from the factory. Any number of reasons why it might be in a package. You take it out. It's mechanically removed from the package, and then it goes into a big stomach, which we make, which is a digester. We have three outputs really. One is clean water, which I'm not showing here. Renewable gas, which is basically the same gas that's in your gas pipeline. We have to clean it up to pipeline quality, and dirt, fertilizer. Those are the outputs of the project. So just real quickly, Recycle Works, like I said, is one of the leading firms. I think what I want to highlight here is their diversion rate is by weight. 99% of what comes in never goes is not waste. So it's reused, right? 99% of what comes in, only 1% goes out to a landfill or incineration. That's an amazing diversion rate. Purpose Energy, I'll just jump right into who we are. You know some of these brand names. You probably consume some of their products. We've built digesters for these firms in front of you. The most recent ones you'll know: Cabot Cheese, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, Dannon Yogurt. We build and operate food waste plants that turn their waste into biogas. I'm going to invite Dan to talk about Recycle Works a little bit so you know who your neighbor hopefully will be.
Dan Bonigario, I'm the CFO of Recycle Works, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to be here tonight. Recycle Works was started in 2016. We're a family-owned and operated company, and we are the largest food waste handler and processor in New England. You see a couple of our key customers in the state of New Hampshire right now. So those are customers where we are servicing their food waste, beverage waste, unsaleable products, anything that they may have that they need help with. As Sean mentioned, we keep well over 99% of the waste that we handle and collect out of the landfill. And it's our goal to expand that in the state of New Hampshire and help New Hampshire to meet its solid waste diversion goals and collect that 1/3 of the solid waste stream that is food waste diverted from your landfills, bring it to this facility, and really lead the country in organic waste processing.
So where's this going to be? And for you neighbors, this is the very far back northern part of 162 Litchfield. It's not on Litchfield. So if you see, there's an old easement that the town owns. It comes off the roundabout or the cul-de-sac over by the gas, combined cycle natural gas plant, and it goes to the back 40. It's really the back 15. So that's where the campus would be. Frank, it's between FW Webb and Stonyfield. I think one thing to note: trees on all sides of it. No one will see us, no one will hear us, and no one will smell us. I'll go into more of that, but you're not gonna know we're there. What is the project? New England's largest digester project, and like I say, it's a very rare, kind of unique phenomenon that you have the depackaging of the waste and the digester in the same place. It's a lot less trucking because stuff goes to one spot and everything happens there, and the waste is diverted. We're going to start with 300 tons a day of organic waste, growing to 750. We'll have piping of waste from Stonyfield, food waste, and that will eliminate trucks that are currently leaving that facility and go to Maine. The gas will be injected into Liberty's distribution network, which is, I think, great for if you guys remember when you get a super cold winter, you get gas price spikes and gas challenges here locally. We'll be adding local supply to the gas system. We won't have an impact on traffic, and there'll be no smells. I'll go a little bit more into that. This is the basic site plan. You've got, on the right side, a very large warehouse, like 35,000 square feet or so, where everything, the waste will be able to go fully into the warehouse for extraction. Then the digester, the first phase, several large digester tanks you see there, and then some equalization tanks. First, the flows come into the equalization tank, and then they get fed into the digester. We'll go into process a little bit more later. And then there's that area that says gas. That's a processing area where the gas is refined from biogas into pipeline quality gas. Real quickly, will you take just a couple seconds on the front end of your process?
Sure. So, the depackaging side, the receiving side, will receive trucks that are all sealed. They'll come in as dry van tractor trailers, which are closed to the outside, bulk liquid tankers, and then some collection vehicles, all of which come in and closed, offload in the building, whether it's removing pallets from a trailer, negative vacuum extraction from a tanker truck, or end dump from a collection vehicle, all of which happens inside the building and behind closed doors, out of the elements, making sure that there's no vector, odor, any of those issues. The trucks will come in, scale in, be offloaded. All the queuing will take place on the facility. There's no impact, no queuing on any public roads or anything like that. Enter, way in, offload, way out, back on their way, all through this industrial corridor.
To finish up with our piece of the process, so you got 2 pipes, right, from Stonyfield and 1 from Recycle Works. The stuff they depackage is made into a slurry. It's piped over to us, goes into an equalization tank. That set of equalization tanks has surge control, extra capacity, so that we'll never have overflows, we'll never have spills or anything like that, because we have extra space. We're always able to take more than they can process in a day. It then is fed just the way you have to feed food into your stomach. We feed according to what we can take in the digester on a given day from the equalization tanks. It's processed, turned into gas. Food might be in there anywhere from 9 to 21 days. We then process the gas. It goes into a purification system that removes CO2, which is the main impurity, and takes the methane out. That's your what we call renewable natural gas, RNG, gets injected into the Liberty system. Then the 2 other pieces are solids are converted to fertilizer. Really, they already are fertilizer. And then our liquid effluent will meet the standards. I've had a lot of back and forth with Bob Carey. We know we'll meet their standards. We've already engineered the project to meet the local wastewater standards. So the main issue we have outstanding there is some issues having to do with the impact of our flow on the piping network, which we're going to test, I think, out of abundance of caution. But this is what it's going to look like. Here's a rendering. Warehouse in front. This is where Recycle Works receives. You see all the bay doors. Waste goes in, is processed. Everything's enclosed. The tanks are enclosed. All the processing is enclosed. That pad there is, I'm not showing the gas skid because I didn't have a good image of it, but that pad in front is where the gas skid is. To show you that this is not just a pretty picture, we actually build them to look this nice. This is the Ben & Jerry's digester facility. They're well designed. They're not unsightly. This doesn't look wildly different from what a farm silo might look like. So this is the kind of production quality you can expect to see. Anyone who wants to come up and see this, you're welcome. This is not going to smell. The materials that come in are covered on the way in. They're processed inside the building. The solids that leave as fertilizer don't have any residual organics, so they're not going to smell. And in the gas business, if something smells, I'm losing money because I'm trying to turn this waste into gas. If you smell something, it means I'm not doing it right. So we have heavily incentivized to make that gas. I would invite you also. One of our digesters is at Fiddlehead. If you know their beer, they have a pizza joint right next to Fiddlehead. There's a digester next to the pizza joint, and we go entertain their people there all the time. It doesn't smell. You eat your pizza right there. If it did, that would be a problem. We have projects that are a lot more urban than this one. I know that people get nervous when they hear gas. I want to emphasize there's no gas storage on site. Digester produces the gas. It goes to a gas purification skid. It gets injected into local distribution. It's not like we got big gas tanks here. It's made. It goes out to the system. We have a flare that is for an emergency. So if you got off-spec gas or a problem, it's flared off. That's just for emergency. It's not for convenience. We're not even allowed by our own regulations to flare it off just because it's there. That's just an emergency flare if you ever had a problem. Why is this good for New Hampshire and for Londonderry? You got 25 to 30 high-skilled jobs because all the systems that operate here are pretty complex and they need high skills. There's no real tax burden to you commensurate with the service. There's not a lot of services we need from you. This is part of your eco-industrial zone. I think it really kind of burnishes that. And every industrial zone would love to have a private wastewater plant. When you're looking for food businesses like Stonyfield, their big challenge is, what do we do with our high-strength waste? This will attract more food businesses, we believe. This has happened to us other places. And then this will lower costs statewide for landfill and compliance fees that ultimately end up hitting ratepayers. Lastly, you'll have fewer landfills that need to be built, and we'll have RNG, renewable natural gas, will support about 2,200 homes, and twice that in our second phase. So it's renewable energy. It's I don't know what's not to like, right? It's got renewable energy and reducing burden on landfills. You won't see us, hear us, or smell us in this site. It's an ideal site for us.
I asked Sean to try and do that as efficiently as possible, and as things dragged on for the night, I asked him to go even quicker. So apologies if that was too fast. I wanted to pause and just have the opportunity to answer any questions specifically about the process.
Brian.
Yes, so I'd like to have some questions for him. I've looked into this business model before, and from what I understand, the gas that's produced from here is typically 20 to 30 times higher cost when you sell it to the pipeline, and therefore people that buy from the pipeline, their energy bills go up.
No. So this is, without getting too confusing, the gas is broken into two pieces. One is the gas, the molecule.
Yep.
Same price that you pay now.
Yep.
Someone else, usually it's a company who wants to buy the renewable attributes, they pay for that, not the ratepayers. The ratepayers don't pay for that.
All right, and where is the closest facility? I know you said this would be the one around here. Where's the next closest facility that you have in the U.S.?
Oh, Vermont. We have 3 in Vermont.
You have 3 in Vermont.
Yeah, and I would invite any members, I already have invited members up to visit. I'd be happy to give you a tour. I'd happily give residents a tour.
Yeah, no, just because when I looked into it, I think it's a great idea, the whole idea, but I just think you're going to spend a lot of money making it. So
Yes. It's expensive.
Thank you.
Just on the effluent, how are you treating the effluent before it gets into the system? I have a firsthand knowledge. I work with anaerobic digesters. 3 million anaerobic digesters to be exact, and 2 million gallon per day. What are you going to do to treat the effluent before it reaches the system, and how are you going to get it into the system? At what flow rate? There's a lot that goes into that. So
I'm trying to remember my engineering right off the top of my head. I think our flow is around 110,000 gallons per day. So it's, compared to what you're dealing with,
nothing.
Minimal.
Yeah.
It's really high strength waste. We have aeration tanks for knocking down the residual BOD and the sulfides.
Mhm.
Those are our primary concerns with regard to the wastewater. We don't really come close to your permit limits on other things.
So you're not going to be adding microorganisms, anything to break down your waste or anything like that?
Anaerobic digesters full of microorganisms.
But you still need to feed the beast, right? You gotta bring it back to temperature. You gotta warm it. You gotta do.
We have to heat the digester. It's mesophilic digestion, so it's about 100 degrees, between 90 and 100 degrees.
Okay.
And that's what keeps the bugs happy. The
Yes,
bugs
it
are
does.
bugs are doing most of the work,
Yes, it
and they don't
does.
make any noise.
It does not.
So Steve, as Sean has indicated, again, he's been working with us pretty diligently on his industrial discharge permit.
Yeah, so the effluent sounds like it's going to be handled perfectly.
Yeah, the effluent is not going to be an issue. Again, it's the flow rate that they're going to be throttling
Which
it
doesn't
into our
sound too bad
system.
either. To add to that, it's not a batch process, as you know, it's a continuous flow.
Yep.
And I just think that because there's some pre-existing elbows and stuff, town has to check it. They're doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
And Bob Carey has found an appropriate consultant to evaluate that, along with John, to make sure that this won't be an issue to the town,
Mhm.
which John then pays for.
Just protect the joints and you're good to go.
You got it.
Mr. DeFrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just to get it out there, and I promise I won't go Italian on you. The fact is, in this case, not only are we talking about local regulations that you're going to have to follow, but you also have some of the most highly regulated state and federal regulations that you're going to have to follow before you turn the key on the door. And it's important for folks to understand that. Now, I will tell this board that I did have the luxury and the honor to be invited down to Recycle Works Massachusetts facility. And I will tell you that when the town did a field trip down there, I happened to ride with the town manager at the time, so we had a lot of time to pick each other's brains on the way down and on the way back about this particular project. I will tell you that my dad was in the supermarket business for his entire adult life, and I will tell you that Recycle Works had zero smell, was the most organized place that I've ever seen for a warehouse. And my recollection as a kid, up to about 19 years old, traveling around with my dad to back rooms of supermarkets that I would literally gag in, and they were supplying food to people. I'd never been in anything, a warehouse as clean as the one I saw with Recycle Works. I did not have the opportunity to go up to the Vermont facility, but I plan to at some point. But I can tell you that as the purveyor of this site, I was very impressed with the Recycle Works organization, and I met the entire family, hardworking and very sharp individuals for sure. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. We never really went to staff. John, you got anything, or are you good right now?
Nothing
Ellie?
tonight. Again, to take the opportunity that
Yep.
they present it, and Sean, that presentation would be available. If
Sure.
residents want to
You good?
Absolutely,
get a copy.
Yeah, we can put the PowerPoint online.
absolutely.
Anything else from the board?
We're just talking process now, right?
If I can, we have a whole site plan. I will be very efficient with your time. I think it would be really important to just speak to a
When
couple
we
of those
get there,
elements.
just seeing if anybody's got anything on what's been presented.
Well, I think this is climate change. And we're saying, I mean, whole reason why we just had the conversation about Max is because the climate is changing and they can't grow as many apples as they once did. So, facilities like this are gonna be key to doing what we can to slowing that down, so.
All right, you can go on a site plan.
Is there any waste going into our sewer systems in Londonderry?
So when we were talking about the effluent, we have to clean up to your wastewater standards. So that means that your existing wastewater, which goes to this, from this particular spot, it goes to Manchester.
Right.
And Manchester has more than enough capacity to handle it.
Okay, good, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
All right. Would you be so kind, would you mind pulling up our site plans? I'm gonna treat the subdivision and the site plans somewhat concurrently, and that one can't happen without the other. Thank you, Sean, thank you, Dan, for your guys' explanations. As an engineer, this is really fun stuff to learn about. And as somebody who has to then present some of these elements to a board, it's very educational, so we're hopeful that this is educational both for the board as well as the audience tonight as to the elements that we're speaking to. Now that we know the kind of the who and the what, let's talk about the where. It's very purposeful, the location. If we could flip to the overall existing conditions plan, which is that sheet right there. Thank you. I'm going to read a quick little excerpt. This statement shows up almost in every element of our submittal.
Sorry, Nick, before,
Yes, sir.
before you start, so there's two Wentworths in that area.
Yes.
Could you very succinctly delineate and say it at least twice which one this is?
This is North Wentworth Avenue.
Thank you.
So this currently ends in a dead-end cul-de-sac. There's a temporary cul-de-sac easement.
Yeah, not Wentworth Ave.
No, sir.
North Wentworth
North
Ave,
Wentworth
which
Ave.
is a different, totally different street, different cul-de-sac.
Yep, very much
Same
so.
area, unfortunately.
Do something else, because this is it.
That's okay. Yeah, you just flip by it.
Let me just.
Oh, that works. Sure. So while Kelly's pointing that up so that we can see exactly where we are in relationship to other components of the town, it really speaks to the element that I was hoping that I could read for the board. And that being that the project team took great care to select a site not only designated for industrial development, but where appropriate protocols for the local environment have already been provided to preserve the ecology of the surrounding area. The site at the end of North Wentworth Avenue in Londonderry is Zone Gateway Business District, which provides a permitted by right location for the use, and the portion of the property intended for development was excluded from the adjacent conservation easement established as the Airport Access Road Mitigation Area, an initiative implemented to mitigate the environmental impact of the Airport Access Road project. The location of the mitigation area along the property's east, south, and west property lines preserve valuable wildlife habitat and passageway through this portion of Londonderry. The subject property is also located directly adjacent to the Londonderry Ecological Industrial Park and represents similar land uses already prominent in the surrounding area, whereby the existing occupants enable industrial facilities to more efficiently utilize materials and both reduce and recycle waste. The intended use of the lot also bears the mark of consistency with the Town 2013 Comprehensive Master Plan that states Londonderry should promote and build upon its existing ecological park and use this area to generate competitive advantages that attract sustainable industries to town. When we look at this location, we look at the history of this lot, we are using it for what the town prescribed as an extension of that ecological park, even down to the access to the lot itself, is specific to what the town had mandated as part of the original subdivision of this area. So again, our access to this site is via North Wentworth Ave. If we flip to the next slide, Kelly, it shows it in a little bit more detail. Thank you. So this is where North Wentworth Ave currently terminates. You can see there's an extension from that, which is also North Wentworth Ave, but was never built. If we go back to the original subdivision plans, we see the same thing. There's even a note on it, on those plans that say specifically that access to this portion of that lot in the distance, the lot that we're seeking to develop, is to come from this area. And it even goes as far to say that there will be a wetland impact because there's an existing stream channel that comes through this area, which is more or less about halfway along North Wentworth Ave. You can see there's an existing channel that we are going to need to bridge as part of this that would be culverted. Relative to that wetland impact, this is something that we had the opportunity to review with the Conservation Commission. We've had the opportunity to review with New Hampshire Fish and Game, and to Tony's point, also concurrently we're reviewing with Wetlands Bureau at the state level. So the appropriate safeguards will be implemented to make sure that we're preserving the environmental characteristics of this site and promoting all of the tangible benefits that this site would otherwise offer.
So Nick, sorry, can I stop you there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So is it fair to say, once you subdivide this, you're making a landlocked lot, basically, other than the paper street that seems to appear? I'm looking at the town website right now, which has all the little lots on it, and it looks like there's a paper street there.
There is. So the town had the foresight here in that this is zoned Gateway Business District, that we are allowed via conditional use permit to have a lot that has substandard frontage. So currently the aggregate of frontage for the parent lot is over 560 linear feet on Litchfield Road. We only have about 63 linear feet located here where we front on that existing non-built road. That conditional use permit allows the board to approve this as access. So really one of our first steps as a project team a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, was sitting down with DPW, was sitting down with police, and sitting down with fire to say this is where we'd like to have access from our site. We don't want to build a town road that the town would have to be responsible for building or for maintaining. We'd like to build a private driveway. How do we go about this? Really just in the last 6 weeks to a month, we've come about a solution that would allow the town to convey this portion of North Wentworth Ave to the applicant, such that it would essentially be consolidated with a lot, so that you would then have frontage on the portion of North Wentworth Ave, still only about 62 feet, but it would not create a landlocked parcel. So really we'd be fulfilling the destiny of this lot in what was originally approved in 1999, 1998, to utilize this in that capacity and not put the burden of the maintenance of that road on the town.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, continuing on. If we flip to the next sheet, it shows a little bit more detail as to the lot proper. So this is our access, this is our lot. It's tricky. You know, we've got 62 feet of grade change from the northeast to the southwest corner. It's not unsimilar to a lot of lots we have in New Hampshire, or specifically to Londonderry, where topography is a component of this. So we had to be very creative about our access and then how we actually go about constructing this lot. Now, in the town, the state, New Hampshire Fish and Game, and all the parties that were associated with the Airport Access Road project had the foresight to exclude this 15 acres, and it's exact. The area that we're looking to subdivide is consistent with the area that was left for development as part of that process. So we have a total of 15 acres. Now, what are some of the characteristics of this land? Beyond the topography, we do have some wetlands. You can see those areas that are located centrally on that drawing with an offset boundary. That is a wetland channel, so there's some wetland fingers that reach into this site. These are considered headwater wetlands. So this was an opportunity we sat down with Conservation Commission to go through, and this is exhibited well in our wetlands impact application, that the downstream areas are really our more sensitive resources. And those are the areas that are currently being protected by a conservation easement in perpetuity. So we know that those downstream areas would always be protected. We do have some impacts that would be associated with this project. They are less than 10,000 square feet for permanent impacts, approximately 8,900, and then another 350 square feet of temporary impact. So you'll see some of that impact here, and then you'll also see that impact where we have our driveway crossing through the North Wentworth vacant area. It also carries with it a fairly large buffer impact, although it's a long and thin wetland. It creates a pretty big buffer, so it's just over 117,000 square feet. We did have the opportunity, as I mentioned, to meet with the Conservation Commission. They did unanimously recommend approval of these impacts. We had the great benefit of some institutional knowledge. You have some folks that have been on your Conservation Commission a really long time. And they were able to sit back and say, yeah, I remember when this conservation easement came about and why we left this lot out. And yes, to paraphrase, these wetlands aren't important in the grand scheme of things. An impact here is manageable. So we proceeded down that track based off of that.
So just for the record, that was not your opinion that you just expressed?
It is not.
That wetlands are not important?
No, it is not. Well, all wetlands are important, but they have varying levels of importance. That's why we do functional analysis to determine.
Just wanted to clear that up for you.
Thank you. I think I may have needed that. I may have misspoke. So relative to these wetlands, that this was an impact that could be justified by this project. If we flip to the next slide.
While that's sliding, you're how many of the 15 acres that they're gonna own? How many acres are gonna be disturbed for the building of the project? Would you guess?
I believe it's approximately 11 acres.
Just about 11?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
11 acres would be impacted in order to accommodate the development, but the wetland impacts are just under 10,000, so it doesn't trigger any state mitigation, but we will have to work that with the federal authorities to make sure that there's no need for additional mitigation.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. All right. This is just the southerly portion of the site. You can see there's a much larger wetland community to our south, which drains off property. All of this area is left in its existing conditions. I won't speak to waivers, but one of the ones that we have is that we're looking to just provide CO signage on the lot we're developing, which the Conservation Commission thought was appropriate. Flipping to the next slide should be our site prep plan. This shows where those impacts are. This shows the area of the lot that we're developing. Obviously, it costs money to move dirt, so we're trying to tighten up our development as best we can so that we have as small as a footprint as is necessary. But with any industrial facility, safety is job one. So making sure there's appropriate turning radiuses for fire trucks, for the oversized vehicles that were previously mentioned that are bringing in materials that would be recycled, really drives the level and the overall impact of this project. Now, we have in some areas incorporated steeper slopes. I know historically the engineering department likes to see 3-to-1. We have incorporated 2-to-1 slopes in some locations, but have provided appropriate geotechnical specifications as to how those slopes would be treated, how it would be compacted to show that these slopes can be built and sustained without having to rip-wrap them. Now, those 2-to-1 slopes are imperative because it allows us to lessen our wetland impacts. So you'll see that in the southwest corner of the site as we flip, actually, let's stay on the side for 1 second. In the southwest corner of the slide, you can see where that wetland channel really leaves the property. We're proposing a retaining wall there in order to lessen our wetland impacts, and we're also incorporating a 2-to-1 slope versus a 3-to-1 slope so that we can reduce those overall impacts. There are a couple other areas where we're seeking to lessen our impacts that deal with our facility design, but I'll touch on that momentarily. If we flip to our next slide, This should be our overall site layout plan. So just in the grander scheme of things, again, this paints a great picture of those off-site wetland areas that have such higher diversity and such higher value. They'll be able to remain in their current state. It also shows just an overview relative to where we are. Stonyfield is located in the upper right-hand corner. As was mentioned in Sean and Dan's presentation, there is an opportunity to install a process pipeline that would directly connect the two facilities. And why is that important? It's taking more trucks off the road. Right now, those trucks are heading to Maine. With the institution of this facility, we're now just driving from Stonyfield to this property. It's taking truck miles off our roads, not to mention the benefits with the reductions in our landfills, but we're taking trucks off road, which I think would be equally important. So if we jump to our next slide, excuse me, this should be a more detailed vision of the site plan. So Sean spoke to the process elements of this. I want to speak to just the site elements of it. And if there is a desire by the board for additional detail for any of these industrial processes, that is one thing we'd like to walk out of here hearing. There's a couple of comments on the review from engineering and from Stantec asking for specific details of flares, of biostorage bins. We don't know that that's necessarily appropriate or the right purview of this board, so we're seeking your guidance if we need to provide additional details to show that this facility is appropriate. So to the right side of the screen, that is our site driveway coming through the vacant portion of North Wentworth Ave. As you come into the site, the expectation is our truck traffic is going to turn to the right, where you have your forced scale. So you're scaling in, as was mentioned by Dan earlier. And then as you round around the building, there's a second scale that would allow you to scale out. They could also use that for that purpose specifically. They may build that second scale in the future, in which case you just circle the building to scale in and scale out. One of the important features, and was a coordinated effort with both police and fire, is that lovely hatched area that surrounds the building. That is a fire lane. That will allow us to know that that area will remain free and clear at all times, as the minimum prescribed width that the fire department would allow, which is 20 feet. That would preclude the end users from ever idling a vehicle in that location. Again, safety and the ability to access the facility as well as navigate around it of the utmost importance. So as we work our way around that building, I mentioned the scales. It's one of the first items you see. The depacking building where Recycle Works would be housed is the larger rectangle. As you work your way around that, the back of the building, which we thought was the most appropriate location, is our dumpster and compactor area. There was a somewhat of an insinuation in the review that these were outside storage. I think we are looking for a little bit of an affirmation from the board that dumpsters and compactors are not outdoor storage. If we need to seek a zoning opinion, it would have to come from Kelly, as Mr. Codner wouldn't be able to speak to this. This is his property. But I don't think in the work that we've had the opportunity to permit here, that's being TF Moran, have we considered those outdoor storage. So we would be looking for a little bit of a clarification on that. As we work our way around the building, you'll also see there's a couple of parking spots that have been identified. The southeast corner of the DPAC facility is where the office area is, so you can see there's some parking immediately in front of that. And then immediately to the east, there's some overflow parking. This is a highly automated process. You don't have the need for a lot of parking spaces. I believe the calculations that we've provided show a maximum of 23 spaces would be needed. Now that's based off of the ITE traffic generation, or excuse me, parking space calculations, not the town. So there is a waiver that's going to be in there that has to do with parking. But we've located that parking specifically relative to our end users. So we have some parking spaces as been requested by Recycle Works. And then as you work your way around the building, you can see there's another handful of spaces that are provided next to the process building. Those would be for the purposes of Purpose Energy. So again, just talking a little bit about site access. The rectangle that's kind of at the bottom of that L is our biosolids bin. It's very much strategically located from the standpoint of, you can see there's a nice big large curvature in front of that that's pavement. We need that for the size vehicles that are navigating this site. So the reality is, if a vehicle is receiving materials from the biosolids bin, they're going to drive around the back of the property, queue up underneath that, receive those materials, and then they need to make that essentially 90-degree turn to head towards the exit. So all of the elements of this site, the industrial components, are very purposely placed because they're part of the process and the engineering of this site. It's been really cool working with Sean and his team to better understand how we site each one of these components, which is why it's taken us the better part of a year and a half to get here, to make sure that we can site everything consistent with their expectations, to minimize environmental impacts, and then also try to hold true to the town's site plan regulations. So I make mention of the biosolids bin, the process building. You'll see that the rear of the property is really more of where we see their tribrid reactors as well as their FETs. There's a 20-foot wide gravel access road that provides access to those areas. Now, our intent is not that we want to be back there a lot, but it's for maintenance purposes, and it's a 20-foot wide road because fire department requires it. NFPA requires a 20-foot minimum durable road. We have provided that to them. You can see by the gray scaling of those circles.
Why are you not considering paving that?
Why are we not considering paving it? It's an expense, and because of the limitations on how often it's used, it's just not seen as necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Whereas the area in and around the DPAC building, it's a more trafficked area. You're going to have oversized vehicles. Whereas in that back area, those are pickup trucks on the occasion as necessary. Is there any additional information about those industrial components that the board would like to hear?
All good.
What is a FET? What does it do? What is this tribrid bioreactor? Sean mentioned it's a big stomach.
No, I'm good.
You're good. I'm good. You guys good?
Can you do the outside storage thing again?
Sure. So one of the
start over
comments
with
we
that.
received was to make it clear that we had no outside storage, and we can very clearly state there's no outside storage. You had the opportunity to witness one of these facilities. Leaving things skewed about the yard was not in their modus operandi. That's not how they conduct business. Things are stored inside the building so that they can be processed appropriately. This is all part of a treatment train to make sure that things work appropriately. There was a comment that the compactor and the dumpster would be considered by zoning as outdoor storage. I don't believe that to be accurate. If we need to seek further counsel, we would have to do that through Kelly. Hearing an affirmation from this board, I think, will also help guide staff and the third-party reviewer.
One person, past experience, it's mostly fenced in. But, enough said.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. As you work your way around that building, there's the enclosed flare that was mentioned earlier by Sean. They can only use it when they actually absolutely have to. Again, it's not a voluntary system. As we continue around the site, there's really that last massing of rectangles. It's in the southeast quadrant. There's not a lot of information provided in there outside of what are the surface materials, what's gravel, what's concrete, what's pavement, so that we can appropriately identify stormwater runoff in accordance with your regulations. If there is a desire for additional details of that, we're happy to provide them in the form of pictures or otherwise, but don't think it would necessarily be appropriate to provide design details of Liberty's interconnection facility in this site plan set. If the board feels that to be the case, we'll proceed accordingly, or we can provide additional information at your request.
You're good.
So again, I think some of the construction details that we were referring to, again, I think Sean kind of hit upon it in his presentation. And again, Sean, have you seen this comment? We don't, again, just so that we know, is it your 15,000 gallon tank? Is it a concrete tank?
We'll provide all that. I believe all the tanks, I think most of the tanks are concrete. I have to can refer back to.
So that's what the comment is. Again, just so that way the board knows what's happening and the public. It's not that we're going to build it for you. So I think
There's
it's
nothing-
not an unreasonable ask.
No.
So
I'm happy
think-
to tell you
I
what
think
every.
let staff work with Sean.
Yep.
And
I agree.
thank you.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate that clarification. Thank you, John.
Public is
Um,
getting antsy.
One thing that's
It's all right.
purposely lacking from this drawing is the maze of underground piping that's required to move materials from building to tank, from tank to building. We wouldn't be able to read the plan. Those are items that would be specifically addressed as part of the solid waste permit that's required by the state. But I bring it up because, again, it's part of the process. Why are things located where they are? In part, that's because of the maze of pipe work that's required in order for us to move materials from one location to another. So when we ask, well, why do we have 10 feet between each one of those tanks? We need to make sure there's room for appropriate pipes, elbows, or otherwise to get in and out of the processing building. So I just wanted to provide that a little bit as background information. All right, flipping to the next slide, we get to talk a little bit more about just like the typical stuff. Gradient drainage, what are we doing? How's it getting there? Typical closed drainage system, catch basins, hard pipes that will drain to sediment forebays. Nothing special about these sediment forebays, just the same thing that you would see on any other commercial or industrial or residential development that then discharges into those filtration basins. So those are the large obelisk shapes on the bottom of the sheet. In these locations, stormwater will have the opportunity for the pollutants to settle out in the sediment forebays and be removed and maintained, and then we infiltrate the clean water back into the aquifer. Now, I'll note that these locations were very specifically chosen to mimic the existing hydrology of the site, as are the discharges from these locations. It's right along the existing flow paths of that wetland channel that was mentioned before. So one of the things that we spent real additional time in evaluating is relative to where those channels cut through the site, although those headwaters are going to be filled, can we still make sure that the excess stormwater, consistent with what discharges the site now or less, still follows the same path? So that's why those discharge locations are purposely put right at the top, really, of those headwaters, so that we can then again mimic the drainage patterns that are currently on site. It's consistent with what the state's requirements are for Wetlands Bureau, as well as alteration of terrain, as well as just good engineering practice. So that's one element of the site that I wanted to make sure that I brought up. Now, one of the elements of this site and review items is Fish and Game. Thank you. Fish and Game also has their say. There are some questions as to special, rare, and endangered species, and one of those items is deletion of sumps in catch basins, deletions of sumps in the Londonderry typical outlet structure. The purpose being if a snake or a turtle or another invertebrate species or otherwise got into our drainage network, they're not going to perish at the bottom of a sump. They would have the opportunity to slide on down that pipe to where they would ultimately come out into one of these filtration basins. It is a state mandated requirement. I realize that flies in the face of the town requirement to have sumps, so I was going to seek a little bit of guidance as to whether or not that needs to be a waiver of your standard detail, or if that being that it's being prescribed specifically by Fish and Game as part of the alteration of terrain process, that it's allowable without a waiver.
So where we are in MS4 community, we require the 3-foot sumps in our structures. We require the 1-foot sump within our outlet control structures. So there are requirements that we have. We've worked with Fish and Game. Fish and Game has agreed to either reducing the size of the opening so the snake doesn't fall through, or they put a screen on the top of it, and then it becomes a nightmare, a maintenance issue for the applicant, and that's how we've gotten over that issue. Fish and Game doesn't like it, but again, then you respond to the MS4 requirement that EPA is mandated that the town follow. So it's just kind of odd that all of a sudden the sump is eliminated.
So to John's point, it's being mandated now at a state level. They have changed the process for the evaluation of rare and endangered species, where it now falls completely under alteration of terrain's umbrella. It's a state permit requirement. So I'm either asking you for a waiver of it, or I have to go back to Fish and Game and alteration of terrain and say, no, really, the town doesn't want to delete their sumps. I'm kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place here as to how we progress. Relative to John's statement of the rims with smaller diameters, they're asking for both now. So not only do we have to provide rims with smaller grade openings to try and prevent that incursion of wildlife into our drainage system, they're also asking us to fill our sumps. So I guess I need a little bit of guidance as to how we progress on that item.
Got any more input on it, or are you good?
They need to go back to DES,
Yeah.
push back.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
Would it appease the board if I am able to do so and they say, no, really, TF Moran, you're deleting your sumps? I will be happy to seek that out, because honestly, the drainage system works better with the sumps. I'd rather see them there also, but
Makes more engineering sense. People that are looking at this don't have that experience. Steve, what do you want, you wanna put your 2 cents?
No, I think it's 100. You're kind of being held to the regulations of it, so it all makes sense to me.
Given that this is more of a presentation tonight versus a public hearing, it gives me the opportunity to go back to Fish and Game, and I'll either copy John in or otherwise to say, we have been asked to revisit this item with you. Would you please reconsider? And I'll give some of the criteria that I think would be appropriate as reasoning again to see if they'll change their mind. Okay.
I can think of a half dozen sites. Lima was one, DEA site was the other one.
Yeah.
Up in that area.
Yep. And just jumping back real quick, we
Nick,
talked
to
about.
wrap up.
You got it. We talked about site access. I just want to reiterate, our only access to this site is from North Wentworth Avenue. There is no access to Litchfield Road. We are proposing no work on Litchfield Road. All right. The last two things, all right, I'll be super quick on this as I realize the hour is late. Landscaping and lighting. We are providing the internal parking lot landscaping that's required. We're actually exceeding it. It's 1 tree, we're providing 2. Parking lot perimeter landscaping, 6 trees required, 6 trees provided. Interior parking landscape area requirements, not met. Typically, we install central islands, provide trees. This isn't that type of facility, so we are seeking a waiver of that. Relative to the waivers, we were asked to deal with that on a different day, so I won't go through that in any great detail. Traffic. Just by the nip of our nose, a traffic study, full traffic study was required relative to the volumes of heavy trucks to make sure that it's consistent with your regulations. A full traffic impact and access study here has been prepared, the results of which are summarized on page 13 of 13. I will not read them into the record, but I will summarize that there are no detrimental impacts to your roadway network, that as part of the initial build and the future build, the change in the level of service at your intersection is minimal to null. And that really as an other finding that's provided within here is that the project will reduce total truck traffic miles traveled. We're taking trucks off the road, not necessarily putting them on. Those trucks are already on the road. We're just making sure they come here so they're not going to a landfill. And we're trying to shorten up those distances of travels by strategically locating this facility as part of the industrial ecological park. We do have some other permits. We talked about the town permits, subdivision, site plan, conditional use permit for wetland buffers, conditional use permit for frontage. We have a town stormwater permit. We have a town sewer permit. We also have a town industrial sewer permit, which Sean had spoke to. We also have the NHDS solid waste permit, which is through the state. We have our alteration of terrain permit, which was submitted. We received some comments and we'll be resubmitting to address those comments. We have our state sewer permit, and then we have our state wetlands permit. And last but not least, we have FAA permits due to our proximity to the airport. And as of 2/10 today, those permits were received. So we're happy to say that that part of the project has been approved. All right, I realize we've droned on probably longer than desirable, but it was those slides. The slides took so much time.
It's all right.
I
You're a big
apologize.
project.
But happy to answer any questions, and thank you for the time.
I'll start with John and Kelly. I'll come to the board. We'll go to the public.
Just one comment for the audience. Do you people understand where this is located now?
Its location?
Yeah, right.
Just, why are you throwing around the address of 162 Litchfield Road?
Because
That's right across the street behind you, but it's.
Because that 162 Litchfield Road is a huge parcel that goes out back.
Kelly, can you just pull up the
It's got
GIS?
like 500 feet of frontage, but it goes back quite a ways.
Subdivide the land.
It comes right down to Litchfield Road.
So, yeah, so this is the farm, this is where Nick lives.
Right, that's where
Okay,
Nick lives.
you got it. So again, where they're building
Different
this
Nick.
up here. So that's
Oh, it
why.
does incorporate that back in
No,
there.
so that's what the subdivision is all about. So it subdivides the lot into 2. Follow me?
Yeah.
And then the facility will be constructed here with the access off of North Wentworth.
So you're coming off
Follow
the
me?
cul-de-sac going into that area.
Correct.
To help
Make sense?
Yeah.
to help illustrate John's point, we followed the conservation line, so what's shown up there is the exact subdivision line relative to where that conservation easement is struck.
It's a pretty good ways in the back.
So it's over
Just-
2,000 linear feet to a well.
So we have to legally notice it as 162 because that's what the parcel is existing as today. We can't do what it will be in the future.
Make sense? Good, thank you. That was my big thing.
Kelly?
I'll say.
Yep. Board? Yep.
I spoke glowingly about this a second ago, and now I'm gonna
Reel it
say
in.
the other thing. Under your on page 64, right? You mentioned traffic from this proposal generates less than 100 trips. I can tell you, and it says they'll be evenly distributed, right? I can tell you that a lot of these trucks are gonna use Google Maps, and Google Maps is going to send them down local roads that are no-through trucks. And assuming half of those come from 93, and half of those use Google Maps and blow through the no-through truck signs, you're gonna be sending 25 to 30 18-wheelers down, and I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying there's probably gonna be an additional 25 to 30 18-wheelers going down roads that are not meant to do them, over bridges that are not meant to handle them, and tying up intersections that are not meant to have 18-wheelers.
Yeah, so it's a good point, and it's something that, exists. The vast majority of the trucks coming to the facility will be owned and operated by our company. So all of those will follow the correct trucking route the first time and every time. There will be volume received from other waste companies and maybe some food producers who deliver on their own. There won't be any unscheduled deliveries. Everyone will come in with an appointment, with a route sheet, with a delivery number, and with a known an appointment set up. So that yes, there could be a mistake, but the vast majority of the trucks will have all of the information ahead of time, and no one will come in unscheduled. So I do believe that it should. Mistakes happen, but we have a pretty decent plan for it.
So you can assure me that at least the ones that you own will not be going down roads they're not supposed to?
100% first time and every time.
And the ones that you don't own will be notified to stick to the roads they're supposed to stay on?
Absolutely. And if they do make a mistake, it'll be the last time that driver delivers to the facility. We have a similar regulations at facilities that we operate now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
No, I think that the gentleman who just spoke, if you don't understand what's going on, it's a family-run business. It's pretty tight. The facility that I visited was in the middle of a residential zone that basically had a strip of commercial businesses in it. And I had to drive around the building twice to find them because it wasn't obvious. That's how. I mean, it's pretty tight. The other thing too, and I based on what I saw, I fully believe what the gentleman just said. And I don't know if I said it the first time when I visited that site in Massachusetts. New Hampshire DES was also there. That's pretty impressive. The New Hampshire DES took, and there was a bunch of them, took the time to go, I don't know what it was, a little over 2 hours to that site to see what was going on. They are fully invested and basically in control of this site.
They went to a Vermont digester too.
Say it again?
They went more than 2 hours to a Vermont, one of
to
our
the
Vermont
one,
digesters too.
Over 3.5 hours, give or take. And so it's important to understand that the New Hampshire DES has control of this thing that's going on here, and will continue to do that as they operate. They don't disappear once the place is built either. So, thank you.
Anything else from the board? All right, seeing none, I will open this up to public comment. If you could come up, state your name and address, and the floor is yours.
I'll reiterate, I'm John Saucy from Brook Park Estates. I've been involved with Brook Park for 45 years. The president, the treasurer, the secretary. We have approximately 95 homes with an extension on Teton that aren't part of us. There's about 300 people there. As far as notification is concerned, I'm not sure what your regulations are, but this is a huge facility, and I'm sure, if anything, it would have an impact on Brook Park. We all live there. We drive up toward the airport, traffic, etc. But here's the thing, you sent the notice to our post office box. Nobody has access. We use that to do a few things. One, collect the money that's sent in for the yearly dues, or get bills. That's not a segue to our residents, so they're unaware of this. Fortunately, the person that got it out of the post office box sent me a notice and a few other people. I do understand you did send some letters to people directly on Litchfield Road, but the rest of us got nothing.
Kelly, could you just help walk us through our abutter process and what that looks
So,
like?
the town of Londonderry actually exceeds the statutory minimum requirement for a butter notification. We now require a notification of 400 feet, a 400-foot radius, I should say, from the parcel that's being developed. So we did exactly that.
400 feet
Yep.
for a facility like this that has an effect on us like this?
That is well beyond the
Wow.
statutory requirement.
So we changed our requirement, was it
So you
last-
changed it to 400 feet.
The town of Londonderry changed it to
So,
exceed the minimum.
so we made a decision
For this
about a
reason.
year ago because of this. What was it originally?
Well, it's an inconvenience to notify the people that are affected.
Statutory requirement is across the stream, anybody
Correct.
touching the parcel essentially.
Correct. So the requirement used to say that you had to touch the parcel. We extended it out to 400 feet. So we did last year expand the abutter notification. That said, no abutter notification is perfect. It's much more than is required by the state and what would have been a year ago.
I
what
do
was your
have some
address again?
questions then on the presentation.
What was
if
your
I may.
address?
3 Aspen Circle.
I think isn't it also true, Kelly, that in a, for lack of a better term, a condo development or a condo situation or anything with an
Association.
HOA, that the notification goes to the address of record, and that's it?
Correct. So in the instance where we have an HOA as the owner, if you will, that's where the applicant has the ability to send it to that, and then the HOA will distribute
Distribute it.
its.
I'm sorry, sir. What was your address?
3 Aspen.
Aspen?
ASPEN.
I'm just here representing myself. I'm representing the interests of our population.
Aspen. Okay, here it
So
is.
it's-
The other
it's
thing I
from
have
your
is,
point.
I have some questions for these gentlemen. Is there any impurities that you release in the air?
That's what I was gonna say, I Googled that, that's what I got one of my questions too.
If, we'll, yeah.
I asked
Hold
the
on,
question,
folks.
yes or
Folks,
no?
folks, hold
Time
on.
out, time out.
Yep, hold on, hold on.
Gotta talk to the
Are
board.
there any impurities that they release in the air?
Before we even get to that, I'll let you come up. Let's let them finish and then you can come up, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So, impurities, we have a flare that has to get permitted. So when we, just like any industrial facility that has a boiler, we permit that. The other sources of emissions, our boiler for actually warming the digester is too small to need a permit. We have one other process element which involves removal of H2S, which is a gas, but it's the amount of H2S we produce is very low, but they still make us permit.
So the yes, it's a yes.
Impurity is nothing that would
It's a yes. Okay.
nothing that's beyond a regulation. So we won't pass any. So anything that is listed as a pollutant is required to be permitted above certain levels. We don't pass any of those levels, not even close.
Do they process any animal waste other than food?
I don't know what that. No sanitary, no manure, no sanitary waste at all.
You already mentioned, you said you were helping us out by sending the trucks away from the landfills and into Londonderry, so I got that one. You say there's absolutely no smell whatsoever, ever.
Come to. I would be happy to tour you on both Recycle Works facility and in Vermont, and you can see for yourself.
Do you burn off the excess gas? Is that the flame?
That is for emergencies only. So if something, if for whatever reason, Liberty says, well, you haven't met our spec, it shunts off to a flare. We're losing money every minute that happens, so we have to address it.
Do you create any leachate, any liquid that comes from your process?
No, there is no leachate because the water is processed to the sanitary standard and goes into the Manchester wastewater system. There's nothing to leach.
Okay. And you mentioned the storage use, if it's a certain size, it's not considered needed a permit. What do you keep in that storage?
I'm going to let Dan answer that. In the compactor in the storage room.
Oh, sure. It's,
Dan, if you could just come up and sit next to, no, let him stay up. You come sit at the podium there. Podium, bench, whatever you want to call it. Thank you.
Sure. So no exterior storage at all. 1% or less than 1% by weight of the product that's received by the facility will be unrecyclable inorganic matter, and that could be soiled hairnets, soiled packaging, things like that. Those are transferred from the building through an enclosed auger into an enclosed compactor, kept in an enclosed system, hauled off site for disposal.
Totally enclosed at all times?
Yes, sir. Totally
Okay.
enclosed at
That's
all
cool.
times.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Anybody else? Thank you.
My name is Patricia Nuttall. I live at 1 Shenandoah Ave. I'm also part of the Brook Parts estate. When I Googled, I did have a couple of questions, but John did take care of most of them. My main one was depreciation of your house if you're in a residential area and they build this facility. Is that true or false?
I would say that the facility itself is not in a residential area. It's in the Gateway Business District.
He said it's not in a residential
The facility itself is going to be located in the Gateway Business District.
When I Googled it, I saw them on farms, I saw them on land with there was no residential around them, or there was one that had residential areas close to it, and those there did depreciate the value of their properties. That's why I'm asking. You're thinking no?
I can't necessarily speak to the depreciation of a home, but what I want to clarify is that this is being built in the Gateway Business District, which is a, what do you want to call it, commercial industrial district, for lack of a better terms.
Stonyfield Farms has a digester right nearby. Theirs is out of service. They don't use it anymore, but they already have a digester. It's not far away. I don't think it's damaged anything.
The only other thing I'd offer is this is an allowed by right use in this district.
I understand that.
Thank you, sir.
Ryan, can you wait, or is it?
No, I just wanted to those two people, I just measured the distance. It's approximately a mile from your home to the entrance of their facility, and it's as the crow flies, and it's 2.6 miles if you drive there. So, although it may look close, and it is a good distance away. Just if that helps at all.
Come on up, sir.
Thank you. John Masana, 2 Shawnee Place. You had said you were going to pipe over from Stonyfield to your facility, if that's correct. Do you have an image that shows your plan for that pipe?
We don't have. Do you have something? Okay.
Kelly, if we can turn to the off-site improvement plan, which, shoot, it's probably 5 or 6 sheets heading down the line.
I'm sorry. I was just curious where it was going to run through.
It's all right. Sure. So it runs along North Wentworth Ave up to the existing sewer. Oh, there it is right there. So this is the extension of North Wentworth Ave that we had mentioned previously, where it ends in the cul-de-sac presently. As you work your way up North Wentworth Ave to the right, you can see where Stonyfield's, is that where their biodigester actually is right there, actually?
Yes.
So as you work your way up to the very top of that property, you can see a hard double-dashed line which cuts across North Wentworth Ave. Yep. So basically in that general area is where our process pipeline would then enter into the Stonyfield facility and then make its way to the interconnection with their facility.
Okay, so that's an underground pipe?
Yes, sir.
So that'll be tearing up the town road, a town road that we maintain, which I'm fine with, right? I get that. You're responsible for that the whole way through, though, right? The town's gonna have no liability with that pipe. the asphalt or anything to do with that moving forward?
So, Mr. Chair, I would add that if we are able to cross North Wentworth Ave, we'd, I believe, have to secure an easement with the town, and those rights would be clearly prescribed as to what our responsibilities are for maintaining that pipe, which would be the sole responsibility of the applicant.
Thank you.
And then just for the traffic at the end of North Wentworth where it meets Harvey, Stonyfield truckers already have a hard enough time leaving Burton, trying to take a left onto Harvey. There's going to be a bigger traffic impact there for everybody involved, with all the residents that do travel Harvey to get to the different highways. Just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else from the public?
Just a couple of quick things. My name's John Kirkaldy, 51 Yellowstone Drive. Just to be kind of back to the traffic, basically. I'm on Yellowstone Drive. My driveway goes out to Litchfield Road. I mean, Litchfield Road now, we've got all kinds of Continental trucks, trucks up and down all the time. Just curious, again, like timing of operations, when the trucks would be coming to the facility. Again, type of trucks. Are we talking tractor trailer trucks or like gas trucks? Is it liquid waste? I'm thinking like liquid trucks gonna be leaking stuff, attracting rodents, that kind of a thing. So just wanted to talk a little bit more about the traffic.
Sure. So no leaks ever. We're very tightly regulated by the DOT, DES, and so no leaks at all. The trucks will range in size from 18-wheeler dry vans, some larger tanker trucks, down to non-CDL collection vehicles, which they kind of look like a large landscaping vehicle, and kind of range in size between those. But there will be tightly regulated, professionally run commercial vehicles traveling through the industrial park from the highway. But I wouldn't worry at all about leaks.
And time of operation, like when those trucks, is it 24 hours a day?
No,
Or?
sir. No, it's in the permit, and it'll, I believe the operating hours we're requesting are 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then a half day on Saturday. And the truck timing is it's fairly evenly spaced out during the day. So, there won't be a large rush at the beginning or the end. There will be, peaks and flows, but the truck traffic's relatively evenly spaced out throughout the day.
And majority of the traffic then probably coming again, like down Harvey Road, High Range Road, or if you know that area, like again, up and down Litchfield Road as well.
So I'm gonna go ahead and answer that a little bit more, Dan. Just from the
Sure,
standpoint of I've got this great thick traffic study in front of me, and in part we use the information that was already compiled by the town as part of your traffic study to dictate our traffic patterns, where our base distribution for trucks to and from the east is Pettingill Road to Harvey Road North, and then to and from to the Turnpike. So they're not traversing Litchfield Road.
Correct.
There'd be
There would,
they'd be
there should
lost
theoretically
if they
be
did.
zero traffic from this site on Litchfield Road.
Only if somebody
I know what
lived
you're
there and
saying with
driving to our
Continental, something like that, but it's not coming from Litchfield. You figure it's either, they're gonna come off exit 3A, they're gonna come off of 3A at, what is that, exit 12, and they're gonna come down Harvey, or they're gonna be coming off 93, going up 28, coming over, and coming down that way.
That was actually the question that I
Yeah.
asked. So
Yeah,
So
that's all. All
that
right,
should be
thank you.
done. Thank you. Anything else from the public?
Michael Syracuse, 170 Litchfield Road, so I'm fairly close by. You guys are obviously going to do what you do. I'm just going to say my piece anyway. I'm against having this so close to where my house is. There's plenty of stories online about smells and all kinds of other stuff. You can read the articles, you can look at all that. So obviously I'm against it. Excuse me. And as far as where my house is, had I known when I bought it all of the industrial development that would take place behind my house, I probably wouldn't have bought it in the first place. But there's a million things that they put up there, excuse me, with the expansion at the airport. And then now we have to subdivide property that's been there 50 years
to put something else industrial. I'm against any more building behind where my house is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the public? How you doing, sir?
I'm Matt Truland. I live at 3 Shenandoah Avenue. I know you've mentioned there's mitigation strategies for the odor. I think I just have to voice my opinion. I'm still concerned with the potential for odors. I too have seen a lot of those Google articles. When I searched for these processes, waste to energy plants, and the hydrogen sulfide gas, I'm just kind of concerned with that. So I'm just going to make that comment.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? I'll let you come back up, yeah.
So what happens, this thing gets built, and then all of a sudden we have a major odor problem. What happens then? What can be done?
I guess
Can you shut them down like they did the other plants
Kelly, do you have
out in
anything?
Colorado and some other places? That's what they did. They shut them down.
So, depending on exactly what the complaint is, we would follow our code enforcement process, and we would evaluate what your concern is compared to the approved
Okay.
plan. And if it's in violation of that, then we would force them to take corrective action.
Okay.
And
I
go from there.
know that this can be a good thing tax-wise for bringing in more. We do have a lot of tax base now from up by the airport. I do believe that you're representing the best interest of people in Londonderry. And I'm just asking you to keep that in mind. Yeah, this is a great thing. It doesn't smell. They do a great job. You know, blah, blah, blah. This is not on you, but if we did a better job taking care of our budgets, we wouldn't have to keep raising the taxes. They wouldn't have to keep bringing in more and more people. Industrial, commercial.
So, sir, I was in the.
But you're here to represent the people of Londonderry.
So, sir,
and
I was
what's
in the
best
I was in the
for the
DES.
community of Londonderry.
So, sir, I was in the DES building this morning because I'm the chairman of the State Water Commission. So I'm the chairman of the State Water Commission. I was in the DES building this morning for a 2-hour meeting. I can tell you DES is involved. Commissioner Scott is very diligent.
DES was involved when we built the
St. Cobain. I understand that, sir.
The plan up here, which I was directly involved, they hired a lawyer for us and everything. Turns out there was a lot of pollutant that comes from that. The air drifts over the athletic field. This is proven fact given to us. It was required by law. I'm sure that they're going to burn off some gases and there's going to be some odors. I'm just saying, keep in mind you're representing the people of Londonderry, and 300 and some people live right down the road from here.
So, sir, did you want me to answer your question, or did you want to
Go ahead.
keep on going?
Go ahead, John.
All right. So what I'm saying to you is that the commissioner at DES, who I've worked with and everything else, DES takes this very seriously. You then have a second avenue, right? If something like this happens, you can go to the town council meeting and you can tell the town council how you feel about it and you want them to get something done. You do have a voice. You can do those things, and they have to listen to you. This board, which I sat on for 11 years, 15 years ago, has to follow the state laws and the regulations. Those are your two avenues. So if that does happen, you have recourse. You absolutely have recourse. You're not stagnant. It's not that you can't do anything. You can do things.
I'm more concerned of the younger generations of people, all the new kids we have, the new families.
I understand.
Et cetera. Okay?
I understand.
You represent us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from the public? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Yes, sir.
Just want to just kind of very quickly, you're potentially going to be neighbors. You're coming in. You're going to be neighbors. What have you done to kind of introduce your project, introduce your site, introduce this plant to the surrounding neighborhood aside from these public hearings? We've seen definitely kind of a lot of success when we take that, take it outside of the formalities here and be a good neighbor.
Right.
And understand and educate and have them question you.
Yes.
And yeah, it's probably going to be difficult, but have them question you, because I think that is it's a lost art, and I think I would encourage you to definitely ensure that your neighbors know exactly what is going on in here.
So
My request, real quick, would be this, to piggyback off of that. You know, I know that you had invited some members of the town. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it a little last minute. I would ask that you work with the public to set up, you know, maybe a time that you can open up one of your facilities to, much like you extended to the town, you can let the public and the abutters, give them a time to, or an opportunity to tour your facility would be my recommendation.
open to that. If you have other ideas, please let us know. There will be other hearings on this.
Yeah.
And perhaps a bus trip?
Other hearings, definitely. I think
You paying for the bus?
No, maybe they want to.
having a community event in that
Helicopter?
area.
Yeah.
You know, kind of getting in, you know, and then coming back and reporting back on what you've done would be a good, you know, item to kind of just show.
Thanks for that.
Anything else from the board? Gentlemen, anything? All right. Well, I am looking for a motion to continue this. Do you have a date that you would like to do, Kelly?
I believe February 11th is what I wrote.
So moved.
Okay, that works. So I have a motion from Tony to move this to February 11th. I have a second from Mr. Penta. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champa, aye.
Tony D, aye.
John Farrell, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This has been moved to February 11th, 2026. I have one quick question for you, Kelly. Had we not changed the abutter notices, would the abutter notice to them have gone out?
Two things real quick. Before I forget, you're gonna have to, I think you need a second motion for the site plan, or did he include it?
Oh, I did just do the subdivision.
So you have to clarify that. Your question about abutter notification, are you
Yes.
asking me?
What
if
I'm
there's gonna
asking
be
you is-
another notification?
No, what I'm asking you is we extended our abutter noticing.
Yeah,
We,
gotcha.
we extended the radius. Had we not extended the radius, would their association have been noticed? I'm just curious for my own.
Well, they're.
I'm only questioning because there's an area of common land that
I know.
think
I think it would have been.
touches it, and I think that would trigger the association notice.
Okay, all right, fair. So we just made a motion on our subdivision. We need to do the same with the site plan to move it to February 11th, 2026. I have a motion from Mr. D. I have a second from Jeff. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champa, aye.
Tony D, aye.
John Farrell, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This has been continued to the 11th of next month.
This-
Thank you.
Thank you.
To clarify further, so they will not get another notice.
Yes.
To make sure that
Just
that's
from a
understood.
clarification standpoint, anytime anything is continued, this is the notice. All right.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Other business. We'll give everybody a moment to get out of here. I don't think they would have been noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Me too, dude. Me too. All right. Moving on to other business here, we have a work session on the rules of procedure. Kelly, if you could do this with brevity.
Yeah, actually, I could have probably put this under administrative board work, but this is just a reminder that we have rules of procedure. It's good practice to look at them on an annual basis. We did recently update these in May 24. So if the board wants to go through these in detail, we can schedule that at a future work session, or you can do nothing and leave them as they are. But again, it's just good
Does the board
practice.
have any questions or any adjustments they want to make on our rules of procedure?
We had several questions on it, so.
Sure.
One is on page 2. And 3.2, the last sentence, if requested by a majority of those present, voting shall be by written ballot. Can't do that anymore. So very strict that sentence.
Oh, what, you
Next.
just can't request it by a written ballot?
Yeah, it's gonna be public.
Okay.
And let's see, page 5. Did this a while back. Page 5 here. Okay, 7.9. It's personal attacks should be added to that also, or getting into one's personality. People addressing a board, committee, or anything should be sticking to the facts. And
What fun would that be?
I know, it takes all the excitement out of,
That means some people can't come and pontificate.
yeah.
Means I can't talk at all.
You said it, not me.
I ain't gonna stop you.
That's a good point.
What was it, Mr. Rugg,
Okay,
11.2?
then,
I was at church.
11.2. After the, where the parentheses are, including the vote tally for each motion, is to add motion maker and second named. So that gets it into, so we don't have minutes that have no motion maker, or there's always a motion maker, but some of recent ones have been lacking a second. And also a,
I don't have any motions that lack a second.
look at the minutes, Jake.
Not a motion.
Huh?
I'm saying
Passes
they're
the
not
motion.
captured in the minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Is everybody comfortable with Art's edits? If so, I'd ask that Mr. Rugg passes those on to Kelly, and Kelly, you can,
Have you got them, Kelly?
Yeah, and your actual rules state that you have to have 2 discussions on this prior to formally adopting them. So if you want to amend that rule,
can I make an amendment to that? So
Yeah.
can we remove that?
still have to do it though, because that's how it's currently written, but we can amend
I
it.
get we'll do it twice this time, but can we remove it? Are we comfortable with that?
It's up
Yeah.
to,
Yes.
yeah,
Talk about it once?
Yes.
Perfect.
that's a Tim Thompsonism.
So Kelly, we'll see this next time, and that'll be our last time talking about it.
In a perfect
It's
world.
not it's not technically amended yet, so you have to hear it twice. Then after that, you're good.
All right, that's fair.
This is why we can't get anything
All right, I
done.
appreciate you being
I
incredibly.
didn't want to put.
Good job, Art.
Good job. Motion to adjourn.
Devil's in the
Like,
detail.
I have a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Hold on.
Just a reminder, you have a master plan update meeting on the 28th of this month, and
Yes.
then a PUD work session on February 19th. Thank you.
The 28th conflicts with the town water meeting. You may want to think about that. DES is bringing down 4 people. Pennachuck is bringing 3 people.
Is it already noticed?
Already
It's already out. And, well, I'm just saying that the water meeting is already noticed as well.
Move the water meter.
It's not up to me. I didn't make the water meeting.
I didn't make the water
I would
meeting
say
either.
we're already noticed. We're already there, and
It's,
Okay.
it's gonna be the first of.
Tony
Yeah.
made the second, right?
first
No,
of many.
no, but I'd like to say, Mr. Chair, matter of public record, we did have several sessions of public comment this evening, which the public did take advantage of. Thank
All
you.
right.
At the end of the year.
So I
Motion
had a
to
motion.
adjourn,
Do I have a
second.
I
second.
already made that motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
There's a big controversy. But yeah, we always appoint at the end of the year because